teacher go to school?
And here's your
What do you think of what's going on right now, mate?
These evil little invisible parasites.
Satan-worshipping Freemason moron.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
We're not run by factions.
Get the fuck out of camera!
There are much more powerful international forces in play.
Is this pink eye? Is this what pink eye is? I don't fucking know what's happening.
Please go outside and look at the moon quickly.
It's been crazy, guys, but guess what? It's how it is, mate.
Mate, because I want to do you slowly.
But I ain't spending any time on it.
Welcome to the Conditional Release Program, a podcast that delves into the netherworld of cults, crims and con artists. I'm Jack the Insider, otherwise known as Peter Hoisted for tax purposes.
And I'm Joel Hill, and this week we are looking at the sound of freedom, finally. Like, it has to be done. You know, the hype and hysteria around this film has been too funny to ignore. You can't go past it. But when all this first surfaced, I figured that Ballard, the sort of bullshit artist, would be a bit worried about all the scrutiny that he was about to face because all the shit that's behind him. But I underestimated how utterly gullible the right-wing cult is. I mean, they just love saving kids, and nothing can change their minds.
Don't we all? Yes, Joel, sunlight is usually a disinfectant, unless you like drinking bleach when it comes to exposing shitheads like Ballard. But just like any good bacterial strain, this fucker just refuses to die.
Absolutely.
He's like Golden Staff.
He's drug
He's
resistant.
a perfect specimen for the contemporary hard right. Big boxy head with blue eyes, blonde hair, and a bunch of waffle about rescuing kids.
Perfect.
Throw in a few guns and American flags, and you've got the whole package.
Oh, yeah. Fucking A. And look, this guy is properly fucked. We're not just making shit up here. This is such a fraction of his story. But also so are all the other Rambo wannabes that he's brought into the fold. Usually for money, sometimes for clout, mostly for kicks. But it's all self-interest at the end of the day. It really is. It's all about them. Saving the kids, I mean, yeah, okay, sure. Can you go and kidnap me a few first? And make sure the cameras are rolling before you turn up with the product.
And then we can make Mormons of them all.
Yes.
Fucking genius business plan, really. Turns out God's children are for sale to giant Mormon families in Utah.
Uh-huh, exactly. And you know what else is for sale, Jack?
I'm sure you're going to tell me, Joel.
Yes, I am. It is CB Co. Delicious Beer. Now, I told you...
our sponsors. Our lovely sponsors.
Our lovely... That's right, they are lovely. Now, I told you, dear listeners, last time about how bloody decent the price on the website are, so you can go and check that out. The main thing is free shipping, which totally seals the deal for me. But this one's not actually on their website, and you all need to drink this immediately because it's still cold. Get it while it's still cold. Not the beer is still cold, it's still cold outside. For the few of you who like actual good dark beer, the CB Code 2023 Inquest is insanely good. They sent me a 4-pack the other week, and it's possibly the best dark beer I've ever had. Their porter's also really good, but the Inquest is fucking amazing. It's an imperial stout that's aged on bloody French oak, which is a bit fancy. So it's actually kind of a bargain at $10 a tin. They're not that easy to find.
Fancy for me.
Yeah, you would fucking hate it. But they're an incredible beer. I strongly suggest you have at least one of these before you die or before, it stops being 2023. Because they might be harder to get. There's a dead on them.
Pour some on my grave, John. All right. I'd like to start this episode before I die. So Let's get on with it. Crack your fancy tin and let's stick the boot into the sound of freedom.
So we've got to the point where we kind of have to do a thing on the Sound of Freedom, but it also has absolutely been done, and it's been done very well. Most of the reporting we've looked at here is Anna Merlin from Vice. That's really, really good stuff, and we sort of attribute through the show, and we might chuck a few links in the show notes just for, anyone who wants to do further research. But honestly, the rabbit hole on Ballard is fucking huge. For more
Endless.
of the... Oh, it's so crazy. For the more podcast inclined among you, which would be all, I don't mean you listening to a podcast. So there's reviews of the movie and sort of background on Ballard and his mates. Tinfoil Tales have done an excellent job on this recently, which I really enjoyed. I'd say the runners-up are the QAnon Anonymous podcast. They did a really good job. It was pretty fun. It was really long. They got the Vice guys in, which is amazing. The Hypothetical Institute, a whole Hypothopod, with Cam Smith and his mates. It's great. It's a really funny one. It's very silly, and they make some really good points that I'm not going to make here because we'd be double handling. And my God, I do not need to double handle. So the QAA episode on Jim Caviezel is also amazing. That's, of course, the star of the movie, if you don't know. He's
Jesus.
He's a weird Jesus.
He is Jesus.
He's a really weird Jesus. He's just a fucking cooked and lunatic guy. I also later referred to a podcast suggested to me by listener Michael Brown, which is Paul Hutchinson on the Jordan Harbinger podcast. Harbinger, I don't remember. Which was a very interesting listen, but mostly because as one of the producers on the film, he's a real estate Rambo from Utah and a fucking lunatic. So I'm going to cover him in part 2 because he's the gift that keeps on giving. The more I look into him, the more fucked in the head he is. My God.
But perhaps we're getting a little ahead of ourselves.
We
because
are.
There may be some people out there who don't even know what the movie is.
Hey, living under a rock.
Sounds of freedom. It's a low-budget action movie set in Colombia starring religious nutter and QAnon adherent Jim Caviezel. He's not new to religious-inspired cinema. He played Jesus in The Passion of the Christ. He's sort of stereotyped ever since,
Yeah, huh?
He's wasn't much for Christ, but Christ, what a fuck. Sorry. So he played Jesus, and there's a wonderful photo of him sitting around just covered in makeup blood.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah, crown
He's
of
just
thorns
sitting
and
down,
shit.
just nattering away with Mel Gibson,
Yeah.
who directed the film.
Yes, he did.
And in The Sound of Freedom, he plays the main character, Tim Ballard, based on a real-life guy who started a not-for-profit organisation to rescue children from sex trafficking called Operation Underground Railroad, or OUR. The movie itself has had mixed reviews. Some people say it's pretty good, all things considered.
Yeah.
Many say it's a bit slow-paced and a bit boring.
Fair.
As with anything polarised like this, you really can't trust anyone on whether it's simply a good movie or not. But Rotten Tomatoes pegs it as 69% from critics and 99% audience. I want to speak to that 1%, Joel. I want to have a good hard word to them. And the audience rating is pumped up by doe-eyed cookers who think the movie is saving children. So basically, it's a shit version of Taken.
Yeah, it is.
It's PG-13 because there's some guns involved, but the main impact of the movie is that children are being horribly abused through child sex trafficking organisation, and Ballard and his mates are kicking down doors and saving the day. Hooray!
So it is quite similar to Taken in that sort of effect, but Taken is an action movie, and this purports to be based on a true story. And this was covered in the Tim Tales episode, which is the sort of twist in this, which is that it was once believed that Taken was based on a true story, but much like The Sound of Freedom, that was bullshit, and the guy behind it was a con artist.
No.
So, yeah, I mean, like, that checks out. So Taken is like most movies. It's an action movie with good guys and bad guys. And when it comes to people who traffic women for sex, you get a little bit more joy when they get smoked by Neeson. It's like, in John Wick, when they kill the dog, and you're like, you kill a dog? You and all your friends must now die. And you're like, yeah, you fucking deserve it. You were friends with the dog killer.
Horribly.
That's it. Yeah, that's the end of you. That's just over. So it's great. You got a moral sort of superiority thing going on. But another similarity with The Sound of Freedom and with Taken, which is both funny and disturbing, is that, so I've heard, I haven't seen the film, the Ballard character searches for this one kid, we'll talk about Gardy later, and leaves a ton of them remaining in slavery because he just wants to find the kid that he knows about, like his mate. So the kids he doesn't know, just fuck them.
No.
Just leave them. But like Taken's so similar. Liam Neeson's out there and he's just looking around.
Fine.
He's looking around, he's checking, and like he finds like this one girl who knows his daughter, and he takes her home, gets her conscious enough to find information about it, and then just like ditches her. So, all right, cool, good luck, take care, see ya. But yeah, so like I thought that was a pretty funny parallel between the two. It's like, come on, guys, like save everyone or save no one. Did you bring up for the class? Then don't bring any at all. This is fucking insane.
That's right. But Taken wasn't pushed as being based on a true story. And it was very clear that if you tried to do what Liam Neeson did in the film, you would be killed in the first few minutes.
Yes.
There's those big punch-ups and stuff. You got hit just a couple of times like that. You're going down like a sack of spuds.
Yeah, you're going to need a couple of days.
And there were no bullshit appeals for money to save the kids. That's the really big difference. Mm-hmm. It was a feel-good popcorn movie, that's all. That's Taken. All. Sound of Freedom. Hand out.
Whole
Donations,
different story.
Please.
Because, I fucking love Taken. It was actually one of my favourite sort of movies when it came out. Such a simple... Luc Besson knows how to make an action film that you basically just hate the bad guys, love the good guy, and everything's great. But that's the thing. Watching sex traffickers get fucked up is very satisfying. But, of course, as you said, this movie Taken doesn't cross the line between an action movie and a call to arms. And this movie does that really badly. So the real crux of this is The Sound of Freedom is participatory, which is similar to the sort of QAnon conspiracy universe. It's participatory, which makes it dangerous. It allows the viewer to be a part of it. And that's not good because people can't be trusted in these positions. So while for the most part that simply means giving Ballard his mates money, which is kind of fine, but also does create damage because, well, we'll get to that later. It can also lead to people taking the law into their own hands. And considering the target demographic of this are cupuled idiots, galvanizing their desperate dream of being a hero and saving the children is not a good thing to do. Don't encourage them. Remember what happened at Comet Ping Pong with the bloke with the AR-15 and the bad intel and the no basement? Yeah.
Turned up. Yeah. Show me to the basement. Oh, wait a minute. It's
there
just
isn't
a
one.
Store closet. There's a mop over there.
Fucking
wait a minute.
Dumbass.
And the SWAT team's outside. It's
Amazing.
getting messy.
Yeah, bad intel, champ, bad intel. So, look, it's likely that someone's going to go and pick up a gun and do something stupid as a result of this movie. I'm not sure if they will. I hope they don't. But
my
it's
life is shit. I have a gun license. Hey, wait a minute. I can be a hero here.
I want to be here. By the way, gun licenses don't exist in the US. People exist in the US. You don't need a license. You just go to shops.
It depends where you are.
Well,
the sound of freedom is designed to make you think that not only are there good guys out there kicking down doors and saving children, but you can give them money.
Yay!
And if you do, you're saving the children.
Yay!
The more money you give, the more children you save.
100%.
If you don't have any money, go pick up a gun and maybe save a few kids yourself.
Good call. Yep.
It's a fucking mess.
It is.
We absolutely aren't in the book-burning business and have no interest in trying to shut down movies from being seen in cinemas.
No.
Lefties have tons of ideologically driven films like Barbie and whatnot to enjoy. Cookers should be able to have their fun as well.
Totally agree.
Painting this as a true story and a story that viewers can insert themselves into by giving money to organisations like OUR. It spells hour.
Yeah, I know.
Is fucking dangerous.
It is.
So it's important not to ban. It's
Absolutely.
important not to ban. You don't ban, you can. And that means you analyse. You analyse who made the film, what
Public
the film's
discourse.
about, and you pick it apart.
Yep.
This is why these things, cancel culture, whatever desperate stuff you want to call it, you should never go that way.
I do
You
agree.
basically take the people apart who make this film. And this is what we're doing today, Joel.
That is, but the problem is that the people who need to hear this won't. And if you try and suggest to people, and I've tested this in the Facebook comment section, you know how that goes. They dig their heels in and they double down because a cognitive dissonance kicks in. And when you point out the fact that Ballard is a fucking child trafficker himself, mate, they just double down. No, he's not. He's a hero.
Yeah.
Well, no, this is like really well known. So I do find the whole like quandary for this is that I totally agree with you on principle, but I find that the issue is that now you've got these people who are in a cult. They will not listen to contrary evidence. They will not listen to contrary stories. And it's really hard to get through them. But that doesn't mean that you should just ban things like this. Because once you ban a film like this, which, sure, it has a lot surrounding it.
There's always no end to it.
There is no fucking end to it. You ban Barbie
all of a sudden you've got a pyramid of books that you're setting fire to, you know?
100%. Yeah, just can't do it. Just cannot do it. Anyway. But,
so you're going to have to deal with this nonsense, but let's try and tear it apart, Joe.
Let's do it. Well, don't worry. It's not hard. We're doing it over 2 parts because there's so fucking much. So my main issue with this movie is not only will it inspire Billy Bob to grab his AR-15 and head down to Mexico in his F-150, but it will also spawn a whole new wave of sketchy profit-seeking organizations that will basically play Rambo in foreign countries in a more organized and horrible kind of way. And this is mostly just to get their kicks and make content to raise more money. Rinse and repeat.
Yep. Gonna happen.
You just have a few TikTok videos with some fucking built guy with a hashtag, the sound of freedom, a bunch of bullshit claims, make it all very hysterical and fancy, have maybe a gun involved. This, of course, alongside some kind of donation link, PayPal, Venmo, whatever. This could easily result in an influx of well-meaning cooker money going into the hands of a few bloodthirsty morons who basically want to head into a developing country they consider inferior to their own and just cause shit. And they'll film it, they'll send to themselves the heroes, and then they'll ask for more cash. It's just terrifying.
Although, I have to say, Latin America, quite a lot of guns there too.
Yeah,
anyway.
they might find there is return fire, which they may not be expecting.
Yeah, duck and cover. And cover heroes.
Look, to be honest, if they get shot in the line of duty, then that's their own fucking fault. So remember, this is quite reasonable thing to remember, that these are the guys that cheered when Trump called Mexicans bad hombres. They are at best dangerously racist. This is not a good mindset to take into a foreign country where you intend to conduct badly trained armed operations to save recently traumatized children that you may have had a role in traumatizing. Empathy goes a long way in these sort of situations, and if you see these people as being somewhat less than human, which I think they do, I don't know. It's just not going to work out well. But also, my other issues, it's a simple dishonesty of it all. You know, Ballard's a fucking liar. And he not only fabricates his stories about saving the kiddies, but he, takes the credit for the work of others, which shits me up the fucking wall.
Yeah. Look, the movie was made independently with financial backing from several executive producers and was eventually sold to Disney. Disney held it on the shelf for a few years and then sold it to Angel Studios, a production company that is heavily motivated by religion and cooked conservative film releases. Cookers have really latched onto the idea that Disney shelved the movie to prevent it from being seen. But if Disney didn't want this movie seen, it would have stayed on the shelf.
Of course it would.
It's not rocket science, They just say, man, we've got the rights to that. And
Yeah,
just
fuck
hang
you.
on to it.
Yeah,
we might flip it out later on. We're not too sure.
But this will interfere with our adrenochrome supply, so we can't let this go out. Like, shut the fuck up.
Not much critical thinking going on in the cooking camp, as we all know, listeners.
As we know and love. It's what we know and love. So, moving on to basically just the movie and the box office. I mean, it's been a strong success. The box office take continues to be incredibly impressive for a movie like this, with $178 million so far from the US alone. And I think I saw the foreign box office for like $260,000. But it only opened globally yesterday. And I don't know if it's even more than Australia. But it did come out yesterday in Australia as of the 25th, Thursday.
About a week ago it was 150 million, wasn't it? So it's only gone up a little bit.
No, it was more a week ago. I think it was more like about 170. It's really going up very slowly now. It was a big opening.
Yeah, this is what happens with all movies. People clamour to go and see them in the cinemas, and then the clamour stops.
Well, there is another reason, though, isn't there?
Yeah, worth noting, of course, that some of this take has been based on the Angel Studios Pay It Forward system. Really interesting piece of marketing, this, which encourages people to buy tickets for others to spread awareness of child trafficking.
Oh, yeah. It's how you fix it. So, the idea of Pay It Forward movie tickets is not actually a new one. It sounds like a new one.
I've never heard of it before at all.
It does exist. So this movie's definitely taken it to a new level. And, I'm not even angry. I'm just impressed. The Adelaide Film Festival has the option you can throw in a tenner to pay it forward so some starving artist can get their weird art house movie / porn fix. But it's a lovely thing. That's sort of nice.
Don't beg artists, Joel. Please
Fuck
stop
off.
begging artists.
Look, my taxes go toward your weird thing where you stick a banana on a wall.
It's the opera I can't have. I won't have. I mean, I really don't like the fact that the government kicks in for opera.
That's so good. I tell you what, man. Yeah, people who like opera tend to have money, so
they've got a bit of dough. They can pay for it themselves.
You pay it forward. Nah, look, we love the arts. It's the Conditional release program. Good friend of the podcast, the arts. So
they are.
Look, when it comes down to it, it's not new to Angel Studios either. Because while they really, really pushed on the Sound of Freedom, it's not a new thing to them either.
Well, it didn't hit the headlines like Sound of Freedom did. Angel Studios' production, His Only Son, kicked off the Pay It Forward system. So there you go. And they did that in April with 20,000 tickets being bought up by God botherers to spread the word of Jesus. Which Jesus?
Yeah, which one? Yeah.
We're not quite sure.
Jesus.
Jesus.
Jesus. Sorry to any of our Catholic or Christian listeners. We do respect your beliefs.
Of course we do. And but it is just kind of funny that the lead actor in this is also Jesus.
It is pretty funny. Jesus. Yeah.
A badly beaten Jesus.
They're a one-track production company.
His Only Son, as we know, is a film about the story of Abraham and Isaac.
Yeah.
It's for your Old Testament, folks. God told Abraham to sacrifice his son, Isaac, as a test of trust. He was a bad God, the Old Testament God.
It was
about
harsh.
to go through with it when at the last minute God said, mate, just fucking around. And instead of ram, was sacrificed for some reason. Lamb. But anyway.
Well, it was a ram, apparently. That's what I saw. I saw it today. I was reading it.
Mutton,
I don't know.
I suppose. Yeah,
I don't know.
Be a bit tough.
Is there any fucking difference? I mean, just chuck it in a pressure. Oh, you didn't have pressure cookers back then. God.
Yeah, you need lamb for it to be super tender.
That's true. That is very true.
The movie ended up at number 3 at the box office on the Easter weekend in the US.
Yeah.
Why? Because of Pay It Forward.
Fucking A.
Christians are cashed up rubes. They really are.
They really are. Look,
they're very, very suggestible. If you believe in the Immaculate Conception, I mean, there's just nothing you won't believe.
Once again, our religious listeners, we do respect your
beliefs.
We do apologise. But we don't respect religious grift. That's gross.
No, we don't.
So of course, The Sound of Freedom really did up the ante on this whole pay it forward system because they empowered viewers to not only pay it forward because it's a nice thing to do, but somehow that was a way to end child sex trafficking.
It's finished now. Yep.
I wish something that I made money from also ended child sex trafficking. That'd be great.
178 million at the box office. Child sex trafficking is over.
You know what actually ends child sex trafficking? Sending me cases of beer. I've heard that actually solves the whole problem.
Let's not make light of child sex trafficking.
No, well, we're going to probably do a little bit of that.
Now that it's finished, I guess we can look back.
Where's my beer? That's definitely not finished yet. No.
Look back on the horror days when child sex trafficking was a thing. But now that The Sound of Freedom's out, it's made 178 million in box office in the US.
Well, I guess that's that then,
It's over. It's over.
Oh, you think
Children have been saved. Thank God. Hooray.
My sweet, sweet summer child. The grift is never going to end. So, look. There was a call to action at the end of the movie. It's farcical. Here's the clip. It's just so bad.
Send
manipulative.
Money. Please send money.
Just give us money, bro.
Thank you all for coming out and watching this movie. I'm guessing some of you are feeling sad, maybe overwhelmed, or even a sense of fear, which is understandable. But living in fear isn't how we solve this problem. It's living in hope. It's believing that we can make a difference because we can. But I want to make one thing clear. This movie you just watched isn't about me or Tim Ballard. It's about those kids. This film was actually made 5 years ago and wasn't released till now, with every roadblock that you can imagine being tossed in the way. And the names you see here on the screen took a stand, and they made sure this story could be shown to all of you. And now all of you have the opportunity to continue telling this story. We don't have big studio money to market this movie, but we have you. And the baton has now been passed to you. You are the storytellers that can get people to come see this film in theaters. Together, we have a chance to make these two kids and the countless children that they represent the most powerful people in the world by telling their story in a way only the cinema can do. For a couple of months, while Sound of Freedom is in theaters, these kids can be more powerful than the cartel kingpins or presidents or congressmen or even tech billionaires. We believe this movie has the power to be a huge step forward toward ending child trafficking, but it will only have that effect if millions of people see it. We don't want finances to be the reason someone doesn't see this movie, so Angel Studios boldly has set up a pay it forward program where you can pay for someone else's ticket who might not otherwise see it. If you're able, we invite you to pay it forward by buying a ticket for someone else, or if your budget is tight, share the already available free tickets with as many friends as you can. Join us and millions of others as we ring Sound of Freedom and hope throughout the world. And just remember this, God's children are not for sale.
But it appeared to work a little too well, with more tickets paid forward than people wanted to see the film. And middle-class evangelical types didn't take the free tickets, they bought their own.
Oh, good on them.
And this appears to have resulted in sold-out sessions with empty theatres.
Yeah, like Angel Studios being really sketchy about the details and how many tickets were paid forward and how the money was used. You'd think they'd pocket it, but, I mean, maybe they make more money by pumping up the box office and making it a big story, right? But sold-out sessions with mostly empty seats would indicate a surplus of donated tickets with not enough cookers turning up to use them. That makes sense. But Angel Studios, who would never lie, claim that every ticket is used by a person to see the movie. But that just sounds like bullshit to me. I mean, why the fuck would I trust their word? So far, 15,384,562 tickets have been bought, according to Angel on the website. Yeah, it's a little ticker. And that is a huge part of the US population. Or a lot of empty seats.
What are we talking about there, Joel? We're talking about 310, 315, I think, now.
Yeah. It's a decent whack.
Significant whack of people going along to the movies to watch Sound of Freedom. It might actually outdo Sound of Music. Yes. Well, I don't know how much that made, but if it was dollar terms, probably not a lot. Where cookers would go and watch it and barrack for the Nazis.
They fucking would.
They're in the closet. They're just running over the mountain. Catch them.
Go harder.
They're singing. Catch them.
Schnell. So when I checked out this script ages ago, because I've been doing this over a period of time, sorry, it's a bit late, the ticket counter was actually 31 tickets higher than when I came back.
Oh.
So I had the number in the script and I went to check it to make sure it was the correct number and I had to dial it down.
Dial it down. That's odd, isn't it?
Yeah,
isn't
it's
it?
weird, isn't
Very
it?
strange
Something
sort of
funny's happening.
stuff here. Let's call the auditors in. But look, another cash cow for Angel Studios has been selling merch.
Uh-huh.
Got to have a T-shirt, don't you?
Oh,
If you're
yeah.
saving children.
Oh, yeah.
The Angel Studios gift shop online has merchandise for several of their releases, mostly cooked religious content for children, but their flagship product is the God's Children Are Not For Sale clothing line.
Yes, and you see, the
They're not for
issue
sale.
here...
You can rent a few. No, they're not saying that.
Well, no, the problem is that God's children are for sale. That's the whole
it.
point of the movie.
And you can rent them.
Yeah.
You can
I mean,
rent them
like,
out.
now we are making a lot of child sex trafficking, but, I mean, it is true, though. Like, God's children are for sale, which is really unfortunate and shouldn't be the case. But don't worry, Ballard's going to save them
Well, we
all.
can talk about the consequences of economic poverty, and particularly in the developing world, and know that in the West there are people who will prey on this. We know that this is the case. 10 years ago in Australia, we brought in a whole host of laws that anyone who commits these offences overseas for the first time, these laws were introduced, can be prosecuted in Australia.
Hello,
Those include-
Thailand.
Yep, places like Thailand, as you say.
Retire and shit, yep.
Yep, and
Philippines.
Philippines, etc. And if you commit
absolutely.
these offences and you get found out, you will be charged in Australia.
And they are routinely charged.
And it does happen, yeah.
The cops do really good work on that. I definitely take my hat off for that. But yeah, essentially, look, this is the thing, right? You know,
Flogging a bit of merch. Yep.
it's just virtue signaling. Now you can proudly state the obvious in public that you think pedos are bad and child trafficking is bad. I mean, well done, you. Oh, that's really what an accomplishment.
I personally stopped child sex trafficking by wearing a T-shirt.
Yeah, and they actually do kind of leave that. So the T-shirt is like this sort of vertical strip which has an American flag and the catchphrase sandwiched between the stars and the stripes. And you know, because it works. I mean, like, there's nothing more patriotic than thinking that pedos are bad. It's an American thing, you know. Guns, eagle, and pedos are bad. Sweet, you know, freedom, pedos are bad. So
why are eagles bad?
No, eagles are great.
Oh, eagles are good.
Guns,
Okay,
freedom,
sorry.
eagles, these are the good
Misunderstood
things.
you.
Pedos are bad is a good thing. Yeah.
Yes.
So we're working into double negative territory. We need to be very careful of that. Don't want to confuse anyone. So similar to the call to action at the end of the movie, whether it's implied or not, people think that buying this T-shirt is going to save children. So the review section also allows photos. So it's full of people proudly taking selfies in their virtue signaling T-shirts. And here are some of the fucking dumb reviews.
I love the shirt, and it fits perfect. It's perfectly. You could use the ad. Anyway, I love the shirt, and it fits perfect. I am so glad I had the opportunity to purchase the shirt and help with this unimaginable nightmare. God's children are not for sale. Exclamation mark. Exclamation mark. Exclamation mark.
Yeah. So let's just remember that this is Angel Studios and not Operation Underground Railroad, which, of course, arguably doesn't do anything to save children anyway.
Different.
But she really thinks she's helping by giving a movie studio money, which is just so pathetic.
I may have saved 1.5 children by wearing this
I saved a
T-shirt.
studio executive from having to go out on the shops today. Now he has his food helicoptered to him. I feel a lot better.
Yep. No,
ridiculous.
drones. They mainly use drones.
They mainly use
Anyway, there's another one here, Joel. I love it. And more to support this cause for all the children of the world.
Good. Just the trafficked ones is fine, but that's cool.
You've got to still wear the T-shirt. Otherwise, child sex trafficking could come back.
It's so much about, like, you know, look, here's the fit, here's the details. Oh, but we're saving the kids. It's good. Okay, thanks, mate. So, look, you know, as you can see, most of the reviews are actually about the comfort fit and the sort of compliments they got wearing it. There's heaps of selfies of people saying, like, you know, I wore this to the gym and everyone said I was a good person. Like, shut the fuck up. But it's very Coney 2012 vibes, you know, buying the T-shirt, fixing
we
the
should
problem.
explain what Coney 2012 was, Joel.
Anyone who wasn't there, I suppose.
Yeah,
Go for it.
looked at very briefly. It just focused on one particular deeply unpleasant African guerrilla fighter who abducted children and turned them into
employed
soldiers.
is a very loose term there.
Yeah, not employed. And the way you get to do that, of course, is to brutalise children. Often kill their parents in front of them.
Yeah, and then desensitize them as human beings.
Completely desensitize them, and then they'll do just about anything. So, Coney was the face of child soldiers.
Joseph Kony,
I guarantee you he is not the only one in Africa and elsewhere in the world using child soldiers.
Yeah, so it was a big thing. The people call it invisible children. And
everyone said, let's get Kony. It wasn't Kony 2012. It was Get Kony 2012.
Yeah.
Did they ever get him?
No. I think he's probably dead, though. So that's nice.
Dead.
He's probably dead. So, look, this is the thing about like these sort of like virtue signaling campaigns of like, buying the merch and buying the sticker pack and blah, blah, blah. The problem with child sex trafficking and child trafficking in general is much more complex than wearing a T-shirt. It's not like Tinkerbell who dies if you don't believe in her. It's like an actual problem that requires like complex solutions. So let's not dwell on that. Let's just watch a movie and feel good.
Investigators, etc.
That's just bureaucratic red tape.
Transnational policing,
boring
policing networks,
sounds
all of
expensive.
that sort of stuff. Yeah,
yeah. All the
or
stuff
you could just wear the T-shirt.
Yeah, all the Republican fucking dickhead lawmakers there who are flocking to go to these screenings are the same ones who vote against these things because they're too expensive.
Or indeed hate the FBI.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because they're feds and we don't like feds. Yeah, all right, cool. Well, do you want pedophiles? Do you want federal police? I don't know. Pick one, dickhead. Anyway, so look, this so-called extra awareness is just being weaponized by Republicans to further crack down on immigration. I'm sure you're not surprised by this.
Yeah.
And of course, give money to sketchy organizations that end
Build
up
the
doing
wall.
more harm than good. So, well done, team. Yeah, we're going to build a wall because apparently that's going to save the children. Fuck you. And that's actually a lot of what Ballard has to say as a personal sort of sentiment. But that's Angel Studios. Their grift is separate. Ballard is not about to let this one go past him without making a few quick bucks. So he has released, wait for it, this is coming, a line of supplements.
So you can take a supplement and save a child.
Yes, actually, you literally can. Literally, you'll find out.
Yeah.
It's fucking pathetic.
There's some lateral thinking for you.
I know. It's called Freedom.
Freedom!
And yeah, so this is thanks to the woman Anna Merlin, who's the one behind the Vice articles that really tear this motherfucker apart. So tell us about it.
Yeah, Anna Merlin from Vice tweeted a screenshot of a video showing Ballard spruiking the range from his house. He claims they were developed with, and this is in inverted commas, an undercover operator in the field fighting human trafficking. Yeah. It's just fucking pea protein with freedom written on the label.
Yeah, that's it.
The tweet also captures a banner image that says, "Portion of proceeds goes towards fighting human trafficking," with the caption, "I look forward to learning what this means numerically." You and me both, Anna. That's Anna Merlin from Vice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Take a tablet, save a child.
How much are you giving, mate? How much? I know, yeah, okay. So
what a fucking grift. Yeah, go on.
In itself is pretty cringe, right? But there's not a lot of development in selling flavoured vegan pea protein, right? Like red flags are coming up here.
Yeah.
So one clever bird on Twitter named Lauren Morgan, at Lauren Whittycombe, I'm guessing maiden name, posted a link to a website that sells this exact line of products with a customizable label. Yeah, he just completely fucking lied about this.
He's just buying in bulk and then just whacking a sticker on them, jar.
Drop shipping. It's fucking drop shipping.
The website shows the jars and bottles, the exact same line of products, the same packaging and everything, but with a blank, your design here, where the logo is. It's drop shipped product from a company called Brand On Demand. They even provide the website. It's a template. He just blasted his face all over it. Take one, save a child.
His face is all over it too. Everywhere you go, it's just his fucking beady little blue eyes staring into your soul. It's gross.
Like if you put the pills down anywhere in the room, the eyes follow you. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, it's a bit fucking like that.
I hate that.
It's a bit fucking like that. So look, this guy, like the gall on this motherfucker. The vegan pea protein on Supplerful, which is the maker of the product, is sold for $21 a bottle. And Ballard is selling it for $55. Oh, actually, no, sorry. There is a $9 discount, so it's only $46.
Oh, $9.
Yeah.
What do you got to type in? What do you got to type? What's the discount?
No, that's just automatic discount.
Oh, you just get an automatic discount.
Yeah, bro. He's really good. It's actually, the prices are actually set as a recommended retail by the organization, which I think you can then discount, which comes up as a discount on the website. It's charming. Of course, there is
an postage and handling, Joe? What are we paying for there?
Did not check.
No, okay.
Did not get that far.
Because I guarantee you that's your $9 discount gone.
Yeah, that'll evaporate pretty quick. I think you can get free shipping after a certain amount of money you spend. Which,
if you buy, sort of, a metric ton.
Exactly. And all this is in US dollars, of course. So there is, of course, an affiliate marketing component. That is, of course, MLM minus the levels. You get 15% of all sales. And, quote, a portion of proceeds goes directly to the rescuing and freeing of children around the world. Your efforts in promoting Freedom Store will literally help in saving kids.
Why wouldn't you do it?
Yeah,
Why wouldn't you do it?
Literally saving kids. You're just literally saving kids. So, look, developed with an undercover operator, a drop shipping firm. He's a bullshit artist. He's a fucking liar. He's a fucking liar, right? Yeah.
I'd say pathological, yeah.
Speaking of fucking liars, conspiracy theorists, cookers in general, love telling a big old porcupine, especially when it relates to the idea of them being suppressed somehow. Because, of course, they think there's like a conspiracy to stop people from seeing the film. Someone's got a boot on their neck somehow, somewhere, whatever.
Dan Andrews, probably.
Yes, Dan Andrews. I still haven't seen why Dan Andrews is apparently going to be stopping this movie, but I'm sure it's out there and I want to know it. Listeners, if there's any conspiracy theories that Dan Andrews stopping people from seeing Sound of Freedom, please fucking let me know because I'm going to find it.
He did shut down the Commonwealth Games.
Well, that was the Sound of Freedom in itself. Something liberating kids to play shot put. I don't fucking know. I don't know. But that's the thing, man. Like, conservatives constantly need to feel like they're victims, It's a really weird thing. I don't feel like this has been a thing forever. It feels like it's the last few years or so.
It's all about fear. It is a fairly recent phenomenon. Yeah.
It's weird.
If you go back to conservatism, genuine conservatism, you can go back a century, you can go back 2 or 3 decades. These conservatives now are in the business of making people fearful.
Yeah, and sad, and feel like they're basically just being sort of marginalised. It's very strange. Yeah, and then, of course, that minimises the marginalisation of actual marginalised people, which is great because I can say trans people, try being a white man. It's like, okay. Yeah.
You wouldn't believe how hard I've had it.
Just shut the fuck up. I pay bills occasionally. So, yeah. It's
not with my tax money that I don't pay.
Yeah, that's it. It's just dumb. So, look, this is that thing of somehow your beliefs make you heroic rebels in the face of oppression, even if there is no oppression. So you see in the comment section on people on cinemas releasing this, thank you so much for releasing this. I know it must have been so hard for you. It's so brave.
Important. It's so important.
Yeah, it's crucial. Oh my God. So obviously nobody has made a serious attempt to prevent this film from being screened or people seeing it. There was that controversial documentary ages ago, The Red Pill. I didn't protest it. It was made by that sort of documentarian pick-me girl, the female conservative commentator who was like, I was a feminist, but now I'm red-pilled, and now I think that women are shit. And, there were protests from lefty students. It was a whole fucking rigmarole, and I'm sure Miley Yiannopoulos was involved somehow. Who gives a fuck? But nobody's picketing this movie. Nobody's doing it. No one's sending letters to have it taken down. They're sending letters to have it displayed.
Who would, Joel? That would stop saving the kids.
Well, you can't have that.
Which I think is finished now. Now they've got 178 million in box office and the merch sales. I think child sex trafficking is over. That's the way I'm looking at this.
Child sex trafficking is not over. You have to send me cases of beer to fix it. Oh my God, get on message. You are ruining my grift. So, look. It's ridiculous. They have this whole thing about how, the movies are against them, the theaters are against them. This is really such a ridiculous part of their Jesus complex. The idea, the powers, the Romans are after them and they're about to be dramatically crucified for seeing this fucking movie. But in reality, these TikTok videos of air conditioning failing, they get millions of views. And they're as dumb as they sound. One cinema goer was told that due to a water pressure issue, the screening would be postponed and tickets refunded. And while all of this felt like a huge conspiracy, imagine realizing, water pressure is actually really important because your toilet's going to be full of unflushed cooker piss.
Oh, and jobbies.
There's no good solution here.
Yeah, just great big Henry's just hanging in the bowl because you haven't got the water pressure to flush those suckers down.
And so you're not going to wash your hands anyway.
And then the next thing is you've got cholera, and you don't. And if you've got cholera, the last thing on your mind is stopping child sex trafficking.
And no one in the cinema is vaccinated, so God knows what's coming out of their asses. So look, it's not good. It's not good. But of course, it was just a big conspiracy. I tell you what, though, she could have just gone into the bathroom and turned on a tap to check it, but she didn't. No, she just stood in the lobby and went, "This is a fucking conspiracy."
That's what they wanted her to do.
Yeah. So look, here's some people bitching about movies because I just want you to hear how absolutely banal these people are and how honestly just desperate they are to be persecuted. Sorry, guys. This was easy.
They're also very, very stupid.
And I was like super curious, so I came to see it, and the lights didn't turn off for the first 10 minutes. And also there was like a voiceover, like a narrator for blind people.
In a bathroom, Tim regards himself in a mirror. He splashes water on his face.
Restart the movie. Hold on.
So we're standing in line with all these other people in the movie theater. So we're getting refunds for The Sound of Freedom because apparently the water pressure in the bathrooms aren't working here. So no one can watch the movie tonight.
Look at this. In the middle of the movie. Oh my god, the glitches. Okay, now we're just sitting in an empty theater with nothing playing. Oh my god.
More as to why this movie in particular is not playing, and are you having issues in other theaters, or is it just The Sound of Freedom?
So, I'm pretty sure it's 12 that it was overheating in that room. So
it's just this theater you're having an issue playing movies in right now?
Yes, it's this auditorium.
Okay, no surprise there. Thank you.
Proceed to the nearest exit and leave the building. Do not re-enter the building until directed to by the proper authority.
So I personally went to go see the movie yesterday, and lo and behold, there was no AC in our theater. And although I'd seen videos about it on TikTok, I was extremely shocked. I gave them the benefit of the doubt, so I walked out of the theater and went to 4 other theater rooms, and they were all working with AC, like a literal icebox. I would also like to include that obviously I don't have a large following by any means, but I just felt very compelled to post something about this because I actually could not believe it. I did address the manager. I'll insert like a small clip about it. They're just being very vague, can't really give you any answers as to why it's not working, and it's just BS.
So if we come and see it tomorrow and you guys move it into a different theater, there'll be AC?
Go ahead and just ask for management. I'm not sure. I don't know the schedule as of.
You're the manager?
Yes. My GM is the one who does the schedule.
Okay, then I'm going to be coming back every single day until this movie is out of your theaters, until that there's AC in one of the rooms. Thank you.
Please ignore my shaky voice in that. I was really nervous, and I hate confrontation like that, but point is, go see this movie.
So that's aside from the irony of the fact that some of these people got to see the movie for free because there was a pay-it-forward system, but the other Sound of Freedom sessions, they've been plagued with technical issues. They're fairly normal in theaters. When it comes to this movie, of course, it's got to be a conspiracy, and you know how this works. Sometimes air conditioners fail. Sometimes the cabal makes them fail, I guess. Yeah. I mean, it's just dumb logic. But look, the brass at the studio, they don't agree. They don't agree.
Yeah, Angel Studios CEO said this. Stuff happens. He was going to say shit, and then he thought, no, that's not going to work.
Oh, yeah, they can't swear.
Stuff happens.
They're fucking Mormons. They can't swear.
That's right. No swearing. No drinking tea, coffee, or doing any swearing.
Boring.
Stuff happens. Bulbs break, air conditioning stops working, and volume levels get set wrong. But these are exceptions in over 500 theatres with thousands of screens.
Yeah.
I think he might be in on this, Joe.
Oh, yeah. That's the issue. I mean, he's part of the deep state. You know, it's confirmed. And that's how these people fucking think.
He's one of those Mormon Jews.
I wish there was a Mormon name I could think of, like Romney Child or something, maybe, you know? I don't know. Romney Steen, that could work. So look, the reality is Angel Studios is making a shitload of money from cinemas and absolutely do not want to alienate them at the whim of Cook's bullshit on TikTok. They're going to release more movies. They want AMC to continue releasing more in cinemas.
This is made for sequels.
Yeah. There actually is talk of a sequel in Haiti, but that's going to be probably a part two.
This is how children will learn the Roman numerals, actually.
Yeah,
1, 2, V. What's a V? It must be 5. And we're going to go to X. I'm pretty sure we might even hit L.
Well, actually, we're going to have to put a pause on you guys sending me cases of beer so child sex trafficking can continue so this franchise can keep making money.
Yeah.
I wish I was kidding. So look, we should say that, yes, we haven't seen the film.
Not me.
Yeah,
I don't plan to see it ever.
It is out, technically. I'm going to see it, I think. I mean, I'm going to go to the movies at some point, probably see it in a few weeks. But this is on the condition that a cooker pays my ticket. Because if there's no pay it forward system, then I'm probably just going to get on my life. Or maybe sneak into a session, because they never check. But we will see. It would be weird for them not to extend the pay it forward system to a worldwide market release, considering how much money it's made them. But so far, they haven't done it. I do think that I should see it. Or maybe, make like a shitty premium episode about it. But I don't know. Look, I don't think it's necessary viewing.
Well, I just wonder if you dressed as a child, would you be allowed free admittance?
Would someone rescue me? That would be great. Probably get shot in some crossfire.
Yeah, you'll have to be dragged through the jungles of Colombia and then before you say hello to your new Mormon family.
Oh, fuck it, man. I'll just be eating my popcorn, not realizing it's laced with Xanax, and then I'll just wake up in Utah.
Hey, John Smith was full of shit, really, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's very good.
You'll be beaten. You'll be severely beaten if you
probably will.
Anywhere around Utah.
I've definitely got to toe the party line until I manage to make my escape. Maybe they'll make a movie about me. Anyway, look, so the Sound of Freedom's out in Australia. We just said that. Hoyt is milking it for all it's worth on social media. Oh my God, they're just loving it. Yeah, but they're really, really enjoying the whole, oh my God, you guys are so brave. But the art house wanker cinema chain Dendy joined the circus. They're in. Now, most people who go to Dendy would not be happy to see this movie on the now showing listing because most cookers probably think that Dendy is where pedos go to watch movies like Cuties. They're not that wrong. But the reality is that Dendy is owned by Icon Productions, which is owned by a good friend of the production, Mel Gibson.
Who's not Jewish, I believe.
No. If he is, self-hating.
Well, yeah, full of self-loathing. If he was Jewish. No, we know he's not. He is a prominent anti-Semite.
He is. He bought Dendy in 2008. And
didn't know that until recently.
Yeah, he fucking loves this movie. So, down at your local art house cinema, alongside Les Cousins Dangereux in Newtown or some shit, it'll be the Sweet Sound of Freedom and nobody in it. Well, no, there will be a few cookers from Marrickville and
maybe you
and more
dressed as a child.
Yeah, I don't know. I reckon I just have to write "God's Children Not for Sale" on my T-shirt with several spelling errors and just
get backwards E's and stuff like that.
They would literally clap for me if I stood up. I bet. If people are fucking idiots.
Look, as we discussed in episode 139, Hoyts has got a lot of love for being so brave as to take Cooker's money and play the film.
Well done.
And there have also been Cooker screenings in places like Nerang.
Yes, there has.
Where not only could you see the film with some like-minded folks, but the suspended Dr. William Bay will be speaking afterwards, or did speak, didn't he?
Yeah, he did, yeah.
Oh, God, what's he going to say? What a rare treat that is. What would he know about child sex trafficking? He seems to know a lot about everything.
He knows a lot.
He's a polymath. I think, is that the right term?
I think it is, yeah. I think it is. He's good at everything.
He's failed GP and now just good at everything.
Yeah, he was good at getting suspended. He had to really work hard for that.
You really have to work hard to do that.
He went into meetings and just suspend me. He's like Michael Scott. I declare suspension.
I dare you to suspend. Yes, I declare suspended.
I declare suspended. It was pretty fucking embarrassing.
But while Hoyts is getting all the love for screening a movie, and Dendy are being compared to Nazis for screening the same film in a different postcode.
It's true.
Mel Gibson is actually the winner overall, as his company, Icon Distribution, are distributing the film in Australia anyway.
Yeah.
So that's nice. Nice for him.
Yeah, that's good.
Another reason not to pay to go see this movie, I guess, if you are of that bent. Yeah, Mel Gibson, who is no longer Jewish.
We do not need to give him any more money. He's fine.
Yeah.
He's going to be fine. So look, also a pro tip. Apparently the pay it forward system simply buys you a ticket to the film, which is potentially exchangeable with due notice, of course. So if you do end up, if there is a pay it forward system and you do end up getting a ticket to Sound of Freedom, maybe you decide that you'd rather see Barbie or Oppenheimer, just get a cooker to pay for it. Just, get the ticket, call up the cinema and be like, hey man, sorry, look, I made a mistake. I bought this ticket, but I actually need to change it.
Mate, are you serious about stopping child sex trafficking?
No.
Because it doesn't sound like you are if you're not buying me a ticket.
Well, you haven't sent me any beer, so clearly no one gives a fuck. I've been looking for my postie since recording and no one sent me shit. The only people who want to solve sex trafficking, CB Co. They're the only ones who are trying, and and you're all really not. So, Mel Gibson isn't the only prominent person to have backed the movie. There's been a few celebrities jumping on the sort of Sound of Freedom bandwagon, as you can imagine, and a few that actually didn't, surprisingly enough. Oh, what? Cook is lying? Fuck. Crazy.
Yeah.
So the most prominent was the claim that Mark Wahlberg was a passionate supporter of the film. He's not, though.
Yeah, he had to come out and say, you look, child
Yeah.
I'm anti-child sex trafficking, but I'm not pro Sound of Freedom.
Not big on pedos, but can you not lump me in with this weird shit? So, of course, they just, as they love doing, they took an old video about him saying that child abuse is bad, claimed it was about their new cult movie.
It is bad.
Yeah, he's publicly
It's very
said
bad.
that. He's actually said that in public, which is really brave, considering how many
it's an
people...
incredibly brave thing, yeah. It's just, it's just one of those things.
It's a divisive opinion.
The Holocaust was bad.
Yeah, well, actually, that's risky in some parts because apparently it didn't happen, according to some people who may or may not be chefs. So... Shouldn't have said that. So, look, they did the same thing in Matthew McConaughey. Just took a video he made, said it was about Sound of Freedom. It wasn't. And they make these easily falsifiable claims. But it doesn't matter because... But the thing is, you just make this shit up because idiots will believe anything that supports their narrative. They're not going to fact check it. Fact checking is for fucking like George Soros. So 90s folk singer Jewel came out in support of the movie in an exchange with Elon Musk on Twitter.
I really actually don't know who that is.
Well, you don't know who's going to save your soul because she told you in a song and you didn't listen to it. So obviously you need to listen to more Coles radio.
Jewel.
Yeah, you're missing
And
nothing.
thanks for stopping child sex trafficking.
Oh, she's having a stab at it. She's definitely having a stab at it. So she said this on Twitter.
It saddens me that some media is trying to politicise this movie.
Is that us?
This is not left or right. It's about millions of kids being trafficked, and no matter what your faith or creed, it's such a cool thing to say, or such a sort of music industry thing to say.
Yeah.
What your faith or creed, we need to protect all the vulnerable kids rather than fight over philosophical differences. Let's not fight people.
Yeah,
Let's just stop the millions of kids who are being trafficked. Millions?
Yeah. I mean, look, labour trafficking, sure, maybe. But they don't really care about kids who are being forced to work. They only care about the ones who are getting rooted because they're more easy to sensationalise, which is great. So that was alongside a video on the same tweet. Of course, the comments are a massive circle jerk of blue chick nobodies because Twitter fucking sucks now, saying how brave she is and blah, blah, blah.
She's very brave. It's such a brave thing to do to actually come out and say, I don't like children being abused.
And I like a movie. And I'm not afraid to say
I'm
it.
not
wow.
afraid.
You fucking...
Let the chips fall where they may.
Here's a Nobel fucking prize. So some bloke named Beard Vet said this.
Oh, God. I knew I liked you for some reason. Secretly he'd been masturbating over her since the 90s, I presume. But he liked her for some reason.
Amazingly well. She looks like she's like 20. I don't know what's going on there. I think it's
the
the adrenochrome. It's adrenochrome.
Yeah, probably.
It's almost certainly adrenochrome. Now, look, I think both you and Beard Vet would be quite shocked to know that her music sucks. Sorry, any Jewel fans out there, she sucks. And objectively speaking, her music is painful to listen to and she blows. So anyway, you can skip learning about her. She sucks.
I wasn't going to, Joel.
Yes. I mean, the only interaction she had with Jewel...
I wasn't even going to Google her.
Just get for adrenochrome only.
And why doesn't she have two names? Why is it just Jewel? What is she like? Fucking Cher and Bono and Elvis? Elvis had a second name. Why doesn't Jewel have a second name? And what happens when they get pulled over by the coppers? What's your name? Jewel. Well, what's your second name? I don't have one. I'm
Jewel of the family, Jewel.
I'm Cher. I'm Bono.
And I'm travelling, not driving. So some in the Liberal Party have jumped on the bandwagon. Amazingly, I just Googled it, but Alex Antic seems quiet in the film, which is where I expected the most noise to come from. He loves this sort of shit.
As it turned out, no.
Having a big Google on that. Zippy Babbitt put his 2 cents in with these shit tweets.
Here we go. Good old Zip. Ugh. Watching mainstream media attempt to minimise child sex trafficking as a QAnon right-wing conspiracy theory in the wake of the success of The Sound of Freedom movie is truly disturbing. He's disturbed. He's disturbed.
That's very sad.
He's very, very disturbed. I think we already knew that. And here's another one of his comments. The trafficking of children is widespread and severe. Let's try and quantify that, shall we, Zip? No, let's just move on from that. It's going to be too hard for you to do that. I urge everyone to watch Sound of Freedom. the best way to change things is by raising awareness. Best way to change things. Just things. Just things. Things and when you want to change things, there are some things that he doesn't want to change, but when you want to change things that need to be changed, the best thing is by raising awareness. He says, good. We must do more to protect children from exploitation in all its forms. Can I just break away very briefly?
Yes, you can. Please do.
And just talk. I wrote a column on Wednesday where I talked about how, our systems weren't very, very good at dealing with pedophilia because we have kind of stereotypical ideas of pedophiles. That's the first thing.
Yes, which this is absolutely making a fucking mockery of.
Yeah, exactly right.
Making it so much worse.
And when we do see people brought before the courts, they tend to be young, middle-aged, old-aged. They tend to be police, teachers, civil servants, small business operators. They come across broad demography, and they are really, I'm sure I've told this story on the podcast before, but I spoke to an AFP officer who was involved in raids where people's homes were basically raided and child sexual exploitation material was found.
Yep.
And when they'd knock on the door with their warrants, often the men inside would say, "We've been waiting for you."
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And it speaks of this terrible compulsion that they would know that they're putting themselves at risk.
Yeah.
Obviously being charged with very serious offences.
Yeah.
Obviously with being charged with, the possessing and trading in the awful sexualised torture of children.
Yeah.
But also, family and friends would just walk away from them, and they do it anyway.
Yeah.
So it's really compulsive.
It's such a high stakes game. It's really it's beyond me. It's such an illness. It's disgusting.
Anyway, let's get back to.
I think we talked about that in the Patreon episode. But anyway, look, Zip's very funny because I just wanted to sort of say, as far as the whole raising awareness thing, that's so Coney 2012. I mean, come on. Raising awareness will find Coney. Will it, though? Will it fucking, though? But the other thing is, don't you raise awareness to bring it to the attention of lawmakers?
Well, when you raise awareness, there's got to be a point. There's got to be a point to the awareness being raised.
What you do is you raise
and that
awareness.
Would go presumably to a parliament.
Yeah, like a parliament.
It would change laws.
Make laws, yeah. So he's the one that needs to raise aware. Okay, cool. But anyway,
he probably just forgot he was a senator.
We shouldn't encourage him.
It was probably being some fucking actual rent seeker, jacking up the rent on some poor bastard in the west of Melbourne.
Oh, God, I'm glad he's not actually properly managing right now. But, look, one of the things I find very funny with this is the idea that we should really not say this because imagine Zip introducing a bill in Parliament about child sex trafficking. I want to make it a law that child sex trafficking is bad. Oh, Zip, that's already a law. Shut up and write. I'm introducing a private member's bill, and it says that child sex trafficking is bad, and we should arrest all the people doing it.
And not only is it bad, but I'm opposed to it.
I've got this T-shirt.
Damn
you see this? God's children, not for sale. What up? All right? Yeah, cool. Glad we got that fixed. So, look, Malcolm Roberts is obviously on board.
Weenie.
He's hosting a screening at, of all places, Dandy Cinemas. The Cuties place in Hamilton. 3 sessions, all sold out. Now, tickets have a bit of a Malcolm tax on top because they're $36 a head.
Oh, well, he'd be saving more children.
I'm not sure if he's featuring in person either. So a bit of a grift there.
You'd be happy if you sat behind Teeny Weeny at cinema.
Yeah, because you see the whole fucking screen. Yeah.
You'd be able to see everything.
Panoramic views.
Look, of course, just another little breakaway, if you don't mind me going. A brief tangent, of course. Of course, we saw Mark Latham punted from One Nation and took one of his mates with him, a member of the upper house no one has actually ever heard of.
Oh, really? Fuck, I didn't even know there was 2 of them.
Roberts. Anyway, no, it can't be Roberts, that's Teeny Weeny. It doesn't really matter. But the only reason obviously Hanson grew tired of Latham and his conduct, his behaviour, and some of it's outrageous, but unless you toe the Pauline Hanson line, you get punted from that party very quickly.
It's Palmer style.
Latham's not the first and definitely won't be the last. But Malcolm Roberts, he might be against child sex trafficking, but he's
a yes, Pauline kind of guy.
Oh, yes, Pauline. What would you like me to say today, Pauline?
3 bags full, my man. Yeah.
Teeny Weeny. Anyway, good fun if you're sitting behind him at the movies.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Sydney Morning Herald reported that North Shore Liberals are hosting a screening at the Hayden Orpheum in Cremorne. We were discussing this on Facebook together. This was organised by a local party member, Jeffrey Wang.
Jeffrey Wang. He's a name, and look, it's an amusing name. It just is an amusing name.
That's very 1960s.
And with a name like that, he's got to be going into representative politics, and surely he is. He looks like one of those naff young libs straight out of Central Casting. But yeah, he's organising. He's organising this, and I expect big things from Jeffrey Wang.
Big Wang from Jeffrey Wang?
We expect a big Wang.
Big Wang. Yeah.
Couldn't make that pun really work. But anyway, he is one to watch. He is one of these lunatic escapees from the young libs.
Yeah.
And you just look at him and you go, you're a massive Trumper, aren't you?
Yeah.
You really are. Hugely into the Donald.
Your browser history is fucked. So, no, allegedly, I retract that. So this will be attended by the successor to Gladys Berejiklian in the seat of Willoughby, Tim James, who is basically just like Ken Doll fucking liberal guy. And he was quoted as saying,
I don't think there's anything controversial about a film based on a true story that's speaking to how the world should and must tackle human trafficking. That's a new angle, isn't it?
Yeah.
Tackling it.
Yeah.
That you actually see human traffickers and you bring them down.
Just shoulder charge them. And then you got like a ref who's like, oi, no.
No.
Head
Not
high.
allowed to shoulder charge anymore.
No spearing.
Yeah, you must look after the head. The head is sacrosanct.
Exactly.
It's a new ploy. I like it. Tackling human traffickers.
That's very good.
Anyway, he goes on to say, let's judge it on its merits. People should see it for what it is.
Yeah.
Free speech and all that. Yeah.
Do you think he's done his research?
Probably not. Not a lot.
No, probably not. No. Oh, well. So US Republicans have predictably flocked to show how much they support the film. You know how this works. They jump on top of it. I think we discussed this in the last episode that we did on 139, probably the Patreon thing as well.
Yep.
But one of them is good friend of the podcast and Ballard, Donald Trump. Donald J. Trump. Old mugshot himself.
Yeah. Great mugshot of the Trump today.
I mean, old Donald Trump, if he's involved, a certain putting fingers DeSantis has been a little bit quiet about the Hollywood hit, which has ruffled a few cooker feathers, maybe in defiance of the sort of the Trump thing. Don't give Trump the moment, but he should have just jumped on it. So a Telegram account called Shadows of Ezra, not Ghost Ezra, Shadows of Ezra, posted
good
this.
Lord. Not one word from Ron DeSantis about sound of freedom.
And then just pedophile.
And look, I did watch. I am a kook. Don't worry about that. I am one of those obsessive kooks who actually tuned into the Republican primary debate.
No one's surprised.
And of course, the Trumps didn't turn up because he's a mile ahead of everyone anyway. And why would he? It doesn't make any sense for him to go there. But there was Ron DeSantis, and it's actually going to be a meme. He actually said, "And I will fight for you," and then he tries to smile, and it's like
he just can't.
It's just he can't smile. Ron can't smile. You can't be in politics if you can't smile, Ronnie.
I saw something like, in a fleeting moment, because Rukshan Fernando's the only Twitter account I ever seem to see when I log into it. And apparently he was saying that Trump could be the only guy who's ever won a debate by not turning up. And it's like, well, yeah, because you're in a cult. Because you're weird.
Hutchison sort of looks all right. Anyway,
weird. So
this Shadows of Ezra decided, because Ron DeSantis can't smile, but also hasn't said a word about sound of freedom, that obviously he's a pedophile.
Yeah, that's it.
Kind of a pedophile.
Just said,
and in the new way of spelling, didn't pop the A before the.
Oh, it's the American way. That's the American one. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm guessing it's an American
I don't
account.
like it. Anyway.
Yeah, I don't like it either. Yeah. So look, I'd say that is definitely the Trump effect of just trying not to be like, if Trump likes it, I don't. But good old Ted Cruz, senator from Texas, tweeted this.
Yeah, and occasional trips to Panama. Wow. Go see #Sound of Freedom. Senator Tim Scott, he was also present in the primary debates.
Yes,
he's a very weird dude. He's from South Carolina. He's trying to make these debates sort of personable and friendly.
Good.
Completely failed in that respect. Look, The reason he was at the debate, so he can get his polling up to perhaps 1 or 2%.
Yes, of course. And then he can get on the speaker's drought. You know, that's how it works.
He said, I watched Sound of Freedom, and wow. He has basically plagiarised Ted Cruz there.
Yeah,
and wow, what a powerful film that reveals the horrifying reality that is human trafficking. Do you think Tim Scott's gone? Would it have been a 3-tissue movie?
Yeah. Did he get teary? Did he get sad?
No. Or was he masturbating into?
Oh, wow, that's strong. I like it. I like where you went there. That's good. That's good.
That's an old joke, but it needed a retelling. Yeah, it's a 3-tissue film.
Jesus Christ. So, Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy, he held a screening on Capitol Hill, and Lauren Boebert was there because she's Lauren Boebert, and she's just fodder for this.
She's all over this.
Yeah, cupid as fuck. Donald Trump held a private screening at his golf club in Bedminster, New Jersey, with Steve Bannon, Carrie Lake, and Jack Pacific in attendance.
Oh, gee whiz, you'd be disappointed to miss out on that, wouldn't you?
All-star cast.
Can I just tell one of the funniest things that I heard all week this week? You know, you would have heard the reports in Bedminster that Ivana, Trump's first wife, was buried there. And the reason that she was buried there is that it allowed tax minimisation on the property. So they've set aside a certain amount of area at the golf club to use essentially as a cemetery. And there was a photo taken of Ivana's graveyard, and it's covered in weeds and grass, and clearly no one has touched it since she was first interred there.
Yeah, the photo's really fucking grim.
And then on Twitter, Don Trump Jr. got up and said, my father's been persecuted, America going to hell in a handbasket, all this kind of stuff. And someone replied with a photo of his mother's grave in this unkempt fashion and said, shut up and go and mow your mum.
Fuck off.
It's the funniest thing I saw all week. Shut up and go and mow your mum. Anyway.
Oh, my God. Back to the show. That was a good breakaway. I'm glad that happened. All right. So, Sound of Freedom. That's right. Got to remember this exists. All right. Senator Ron Johnson from Wisconsin has signed a letter seeking to combat human trafficking. Unsurprisingly, its intent is to actually crack down on immigration, just using this as a whole virtue shield to make that happen. So the root cause of child exploitation, as I think we all agree, is vulnerability in certain forms. You know, it could be economic, social, otherwise, political. We don't care about that, though. The movie doesn't say that. The movie says the main vulnerability is just not having Ballard near you at a certain time with a gun. So the Biden administration is trying to create these sort of legal pathways for migrants seek asylum. Too little, too late, but that's my lefty 2 cents. And this is basically to prevent people from being smuggled by coyotes. But in this dipshit Republican logic,
exploited in the labour market, all sorts of things. It's actually been a running sore for a long, long time, and it goes back to W's days, and I'm sure it predates that, where there was an estimated 15 million Americans who are illegals. And many of them were born in the United States as the children of illegals. So the way even George W. Bush was saying, okay, let's bring these people into the tent. Let's establish a process under which they can become citizens and all this sort of stuff, because otherwise these people are vulnerable to all forms of exploitation, labour exploitation in particular. And every now and then there'll be a Republican or indeed a Democrat exposed for having hired illegal immigrants to clean their houses and look after their kids.
Yep. Happens. Taylor's all the time. It's fucking terrible. So just basically, when it comes down to it, it's just, using this thing to perpetuate a racist agenda is unsurprising. And of course, Republicans fucking doing it. At least Trump was honest and just said he doesn't like South Americans and thinks they're bad hombres in Mexico. I mean, that was at least honest.
Well, that was Mexicans, really.
Yeah, it was Mexicans.
It was Mexicans. But I think it's a sort of general, it had a general sort of vibe about Latin Americans.
Yeah, and Ballard's fucking massive, vicious anti-immigration guy. Eduardo Verastegui, apparently he's running for president of Mexico now, which is a whole other story, which we'll probably get into in part 2. But they were presented with the letter.
We should.
Because, it's just, this whole thing is just a right-wing mess. You can't... Sorry, Jewel. They've already politicised it.
Well, it has the potential to jump the divide. We'll talk a little bit about that later because you do have this, at face value, this, wear the T-shirt, buy the ticket.
Yeah,
buy the ticket
save
for
the
someone
kids.
Else. And save the
Nothing
kids.
partisan about
Look,
saving
while
the
movie-
kids.
Yeah, that's right. We're all for kids.
That's it.
Pedophiles especially.
The worst.
While the movie has taken the Republican world by storm, Democrats are also getting pilled on the Sound of Freedom.
Yeah.
A polling firm Redfield and Wilton Strategies found that 59% of Democrats have a favourable or very favourable opinion of the film. Only 10% of said Democrats responded unfavourably. 65% of Republican voters have a favourable opinion of the film. 74% of Republicans thought the film was accurate, and 57% of Democrats agreed. I went looking for this poll, Joel, because you mentioned a little bit later that this methodology might be a little bit unsound. Certainly, Redfield and Wilton Strategies, it's an English
they're legitimate
polling firm.
Yeah.
Oh, completely legit. But I went looking on their website and I couldn't find the poll. And I went back. So how many people? So you were going to talk about the methodology
article, which I
yeah,
think
I saw the Newsweek piece.
Yeah.
I saw the news, and I don't doubt the numbers. But what I would like to see is because
The
this is
methodology.
essentially bipartisan support for the film.
Yeah, I find it hard to believe. To be honest,
what I'd like to see is the numbers, and if it's 1,000 people, or two, or 3,
and
or 5,
where,
or 10,
and was it phone call? Was it in person?
and where and how, and all that sort of stuff.
Exactly.
But anyway,
yeah, I'd be interested to see that. So basically, it's that thing, like the methodology is tricky on that, but what it generally says, and it may very well be true, is that everyone's falling for Ballard's bullshit on both sides of the aisle, which essentially means that everyone's stupid and gullible, especially when it comes to saving the kids. But of course, the fervour, that sort of blatant virtue signal, is distinctly coming from the Republican camp. You can't fucking deny that. But the movie is mostly about the hero's journey of the protagonist, Tim Ballard. Now, you may have heard that Ballard is a bit of a cunt. But after this, I think
you did hint at that.
Yeah, I think you'll know that he's a genuinely shit person after this. So after doing all this research, it is genuinely painful to see this absolute fuckwit being praised as a hero by dimwits and cult members because, fuck, man. I mean, obviously the gears of the right-wing fucking alt-right space need to keep turning. The grift needs to keep going. Grist for the mill is what you tend to say. And this is just another sort of con man in the QAnon sort of adjacent space, tricking idiots into giving him money. And, of course, propping up his narcissistic hero complex. But it's so easy to just debunk as a human being. It's like shooting fish in a fucking barrel.
In a very mercenary way, it's incredibly clever.
It is
because if you extract ethics and morals from he's at least looked at QAnon and these other sort of bizarre groups and that sort of predate QAnon and said this is a ripping way to make a quid. Not only that, but people think I'm a hero.
People think I'm a fucking hero. Yeah, he started this before Q, to be fair. He started
all
this thing before Q.
Did,
But let's face it. I mean, when it comes down to it, saving the kids is popular on a bad weekend, and saving the kids to a cult of people who have been turned into a sort of weird death cult obsessed with saving children, well, I mean, that's just the world walking into your grift, He must really believe in God because he must think that God basically made QAnon happen to give him money.
God's cutting checks. Yeah.
And as you're going to find out in a moment, he has made a lot of fucking money out of this. Don't worry about Timmy. He's eating salmon.
He's okay.
And
He'll
steak.
be okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He might be able to buy a couple of his own t-shirts.
Yes, he actually yeah, exactly. And some vegan pea protein. So Ballard claims he worked for the CIA and has no evidence for this at all. He could get that. I think this Vice reported that the CIA have said that they would release any record they have on him if he agreed to do so. He has not agreed to do so. And of course, this is despite all these requests from the godless leftist media. And it makes your noggin jog a little bit.
Does one, yeah. Does make you wonder.
Yeah, maybe he's full of shit. I wonder. Maybe the pea protein guy's full of shit.
Give him a good squeezing. See if it comes out of his pores. That's when you know someone's full of shit.
But no one's going to squeeze him because he's a hero and he's heavily armed. So the guy is a con man at best. And while it takes far more effort to call out a lie than to say it, it's a Brandolini's Law thing here. Excellent journalists have kept this dickhead to account over many instances of just complete fabrications, including taking credit for the rescue of a young girl. This is the Liliana story, who bravely escaped her captors without assistance and only met Ballard and his crew of stolen valor fuckheads years later. And they took full credit for her liberation. She did that herself. And there is, of course, the wild story of Earl Venton Buchanan, which was investigated by Lynn Packer and Damien Moore for the website AustralianCrimeJournal.com.
There you go. Ballard's often recounted origin story revolves around the rescue of a 5-year-old boy named Pedro in 2006. Pedro was, according to the story, kidnapped by a human trafficker in Mexico as an infant and rescued by Ballard at the Mexico-California border. His story claims that the 5-year-old boy and his 10-year-old sister were being taken to Mexico for drug cartel parties. So they're actually in the United States and taken to Mexico. Is that right?
So, so that's the thing. Basically, the idea here is that he's been kidnapped in Mexico because, that's where people get kidnapped, and then basically trafficked between the border. That's the story, at least.
Ah, right. So he's taken to Mexico for drug cartel parties and used as sex toys by drug kingpins.
Pretty salacious.
Once he was aware of this, Ballard, he realised he had to do more to save the kids and left his job to start OUR.
Very abbreviated, but, that's the sort of vibe here,
Apparently, Pedro gave him a necklace, which then led to a search for his sister, an operation Ballard claims he mortgaged his house to pay for. The necklace is mentioned in the movie, but in a completely different context.
Yeah, and the necklace gets sort of like bandied around as this sort of like, ridiculous token of him being a fucking hero and the trust between him and children, but he just sort of pastes it all over the place. But it's all bullshit. I mean, like, fucking Ballard wasn't even there when Buchanan was arrested. Just wasn't there.
Yeah. The 5-year-old, apparently named Pedro, was an American citizen. That's what I was thinking. So was Buchanan. Pedro, likely not his real name, it's believed Glenn Beck made that up when telling a story on behalf of Ballard at an event, was not kidnapped. They were going to visit his father in Mexico.
So you start to see what's happening here. Buchanan was, as is statistically likely in these situations, a lifelong friend of the family. He wasn't a drug kingpin, trafficker, coyote, he wasn't a bad guy. He didn't look like Trump's mugshot when he got photographed. The family gave permission for Buchanan to take the child out of the country, as they were completely unaware of the horrific child abuse that he was being subjected to when he was alone with this trusted friend Buchanan. And that's how this shit fucking happens. So Buchanan made the absolute rookie error of not bringing the child's ID, and as per procedure in situations like this, the car was searched. So child abuse material, at the border, the Mexico border. Child abuse material was found. Ballard wasn't there. Buchanan was arrested. Ballard wasn't there. Ballard turned up 45 minutes later, collected the tape for evidence, and then left to, do policey stuff, which is fine. You've got your role in this.
He's a member of ICE, right? He's a member of ICE.
He's like in a sort of special department of the Homeland Security thing. I can't remember the name of it, but basically,
ICE. That's the
he's in a different part of.
He's not in ICE.
Homeland Security, which is like a part of. It's a whole inter acronym situation. But either way, basically Ballard, for some sort of insane reason, but let's face it, because he's a dickhead, lying grifter, he tells a story like basically he was the one who personally saved the child from his professional trafficker, which led to him starting Operation Underground Railroad because he had this necklace story and blah, blah, blah. And like I say, it's all completely fabricated. So the people involved are real. In these situations, there's always that kernel of truth. And one of the things that the American Crime Journal guy said was basically the way he fucked this up was when he told the story, he said the name of the trafficker. And he said it offhand like it didn't matter. But then the journo could go and find out the story and find out that he's fucking lying. But that's who Ballard is. He just makes up lies, centers himself in the story, hopes no one looks into it, and if someone does look into it, which people have done extensively, hopes that his fucking idiot base don't care. And they don't.
And they don't, yeah.
And they don't. So he asks for money, they give it to him, and just rinse and repeat. He just does it all again. Fucking asshole.
Yeah, Ballard claims that it was the bureaucratic red tape of working on the border that made him launch Operation Underground Railroad.
He was held back.
The red tape that was holding him back, it was that. It was that tape, damn it.
The handcuffs of tape.
It was that bureaucratic red tape that led to the procedural search of the car that rescued the child.
Oh, yes, no. So the bureaucratic red tape is good when it works, isn't it?
Yeah. Old mate, no procedure, probably would have let him pass through with a warning. Fucking libertarians.
They're like that, it's so annoying hearing him talk about how red tape is holding him back and then hear him talk about stories about how red tape saved kids and you're like, okay, pick a lane, Rambo. So I've been listening to Ballard talking about his operation on podcast and basically is now arguing that the pedophiles are actually in the US now. Biggest market, lots of pedos, full of pedos. You walk past any building in the US, probably
He's probably right about that.
He probably is. But the thing is, he's not using that in a way that is constructive or helpful because he's just released a film which is based on the idea that South America's full of pedos and we need to kick their doors down. This is the angle. Bringing immigrant children into the country is basically for the purpose of sex trafficking. They're not coming for a better life. They're not coming to reunite with their families. They're being trafficked. And the solution is to build a border wall and keep them out.
Building the wall.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And you know what? Legal immigration, just a pipeline for pedos. And that's why Biden, who is increasing legal immigration, apparently, is a pedo enabler. And he's not even increasing it that much. I mean, I wish I was making this up, but honestly, the way in which they're just weaponizing child sex trafficking to pursue a Trumpian agenda is insane.
Look, let me just interrupt you there, Joel, and tell you that through the Biden administration, certainly in the first 2 years, the numbers of illegals crossing the Mexican border into California, Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas were really up. I mean, there was a huge increase, a surge of them. And, of course, let's not forget that when Trump was president, some 300 children were separated from their parents in such a bureaucratic bungle that they could not actually be reunited with their families. And these children, no one's quite sure where they've ended up, but they've ended up
to Utah,
somewhere in the American system.
Yeah, it's insane. It's so insane.
And the other thing is that they're still talking. The Republicans are still talking about the wall in the primary debate, the first GOP primary debate during the week.
Really?
A number of them were saying, "Yes, I will build the wall. I will build the wall." From memory, it's about 1,400 kilometres long.
Yeah, so you're going to get your shovel and go out there in your suit?
Yeah, I think it's even longer. Don't quote me on that, but yes, from basically from San Diego all the way through to Texas, it's an enormous stretch of road. And we know that the various grifts that were being run there, so you can pay for a bit of the wall yourself.
Yep.
That
went well.
They established about 200 metres worth of the wall, and then Trump. It wasn't Trump himself, but the Trump wall was basically being shown to media, etc., and everyone was very proudly showing it off. Wonderful wall, great wall, looks fantastic. And then while they were filming all of this, someone just jumped over the wall and ran into the United States.
That's so good. So just to make things worse, kick this shit can down the road, the story of Lillian, which is sort of covered by various other podcasts, QAnon Anonymous did it, I think Tinfoil Tales mentioned it as well, was a girl who was groomed from a young age and held captive by a man who lured her in using the Loverboy method, which is made popular by people who like Sound of Freedom and people who like Andrew Tate.
Andrew Tate. There's a bit of a crossover there.
There's such a crossover. And, he traffics. He's the villain. Anyway, so apparently she was forced to have sex with up to 15 men a day for money. Well, Ballard thought that wasn't quite sizzly enough, so he rounded it up to 30, which is weird, and then claimed that she said that a border wall would have prevented her ordeal. Okay, that doesn't make any sense. He also claims that she was kidnapped from her village. But that just fits that Sound of Freedom narrative, this whole thing is from these, impoverished villages. No, someone groomed her. Someone groomed her from a young age to make her dependent. And he claims that she thinks the war would have saved her, basically, let's face it, because it fits that fucked up anti-immigration narrative we just told you about.
There you go.
So, it's pretty difficult to take that fucking, Jewel folk singer seriously when she pontificates with her hand on her chest, saying how sad it is, this movie's political. But it's not just political, it's political manipulation. The whole fucking thing, the whole folk story, everything. Political manipulation. It's really fucking annoying.
Yeah, the origin story of the film tells us a different one. The story of Gardy Marty, a child who was kidnapped in Haiti and has never been found.
Yeah, this is fucked. So basically finding Gardy becomes this sort of origin story mission for Ballard. And while I don't doubt that he genuinely wanted to find the kid and that the kid actually exists, and this is not only just for the intention of clout, but he probably does have a shred of humanity, even if it's incredibly fucking basic and misguided. But to help with this search, he employed a psychic named Janet. And not only did he rely on the information from Janet to try and find the kid, which, surprise, surprise, didn't work, but when the psychic said that she knew where Gardy was, Ballard called his father and told him that he was about to be rescued. So the dad actually thought that the kid was being saved.
He's in the boathouse.
Don't worry, it's all under control. We've got him, it's fine. And look, this is just not how psychics work. I'm sorry, you can go to a psychic and you can get a lot of rewarding experience from it, but they're not going to tell you the lotto numbers and they're not going to tell you where your dead kid is, okay? So if that's your thoughts, don't. But this is the fucking thing, man. Whether Ballard is malicious or stupid is so hard to know. But this is one of those times where I'm like, you know what? Maybe he is just a fucking idiot. You know, just sort of like Elon Musk. Okay, you made some money, but you grifted it, whatever, it's difficult. But see, Gardy was kidnapped in December 2009, which is quite some time ago, and they haven't found him. But until recently, Find Gardy hats could be bought on the OUR website for $40.
Oh, no.
Isn't that just great? You can get Gardy merch. It's very Coney 2012.
Yeah, who's still in Haiti, presumably.
Yes, exactly. I mean, it's just fucking crazy.
Yeah, years later in 2013, in the early days of Operation Underground Railroad, Ballard hatched a plan to create a reality TV series about rescuing children in the classic Sound of Freedom style of turning up, asking criminals to supply kids to abuse, and then kicking down doors to save them. Except this would be on TV with a call to action for donations all throughout. License to print money, really. Yeah. Gee, the lawyers would have been, network lawyers would have been just a little bit nervous. Fellow Mormon, Glenn Beck, was on board to help fund the endeavour as a producer, but they also went on the publicity circuit to raise money for the new organisation at speaking events and fundraisers with the captivating cause of saving children from sex trafficking. Everyone wants to save kids. The organisation, as it was, had conducted no raids, had done nothing to save children, but Ballard still waxed lyrical about heroic operations to save kids that supposedly happened during his time working for the government. Of course, this is the same government that prevented any kind of meaningful action due to red tape. Yeah. Damn that red tape.
Yeah.
Never mind that blatant contradiction, listeners. That happens a lot when Ballard opens his mouth.
Fucking does. It's just like, mate, so the red tape was holding you back, but you also all jumped from the ceiling that time when you saved all the kids. Okay, cool. Let's figure out the midpoint on that and just say it. So Beck was a huge pusher of these stories. I mean, he would repeat the bullshit Ballard had told him about operations where, and this is basically the quote, once money changed hands, Navy SEALs dropped out of the ceiling and saved the children. So Ballard was still working as an ICE officer, and like I say, really,
he was in ICE.
Well,
yeah, he was at the time.
He was. It's a Homeland Security thing, and it's a blah blah blah, and there's a whole bureaucratic thing. So I've had to put this one in after the edit because, I wanted to clear this one up because we stumbled over it a couple of times in the episode. And what indeed was Ballard's job title and who was it with? I had a few titles thrown around. There was Homeland Security. There was ICE, which stands for Immigration and Customs Enforcement. So I went looking for his resume. And his Wikipedia page is mostly from the OUR years onwards, so that was pretty useless. But he did testify before Congress. There he says that he began his career at the CIA working with cases dealing with terrorism and Latin America. That's pretty broad. So what we have heard, which may or may not be true, that he worked for the CIA for a year. So here's a guy who starts a job at the CIA at the start of his career and is immediately put into counterterrorism. I don't know. That sounds like bullshit to me. It just seems like something you sort of work your way up to. So what I was looking for is this. He was a special agent for the Department of Homeland Security in the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force. That was his job. This does exist, and the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force is a task force. It exists across over 5,000 law enforcement agencies, basically bringing them all together to share intelligence and work around capturing kitty fiddlers and, child porn peddlers and whatever. It's not an agency in itself. You work for an agency and that's connected to the thing, blah, blah, blah. But this kind of explains why he was involved in the arrest of Buchanan at the Mexicali border, because he went to retrieve the child sex abuse video material and then left to analyze it and use it as evidence. Of course, in his stories, he claims that he was central to the operation because he's always the fucking hero and has to be the center of everything, and he's a pathological fucking liar. So he was a guy that worked on internet crimes, and taking that evidence was part of his job. This all checks out. That's cool. Obviously, he's lying about the story, but I'm double-checking the working of others, and yeah, okay, cool. He claims this job was doing undercover operations, but when he talks about these operations and how they played out, people involved in actual operations have questioned the authenticity of the stories. Now, is this because he's just a bit of a bullshit artist and he's embellishing the stories that did sort of happen? Or he just straight up wasn't involved and he's making the entire fucking thing up? I don't know. It's very hard to disprove bullshit. That's, sort of a Brandolini's Law issue. I can't seem to find any record of him working for ICE, yet this is sort of commonly reported. And I think this might be a misunderstanding, but also ICE does fall under the organisation chart of the Department of Homeland Security. And he claims to have spent a lot of time on the border, which is a part of his whole we need to build a border wall shtick. So maybe he's lied about it in the past. Maybe that's a part of his remit that he works into departmental. I don't really know. But in an article that he wrote for Deseret News, called Tim Ballard, I've fought sex trafficking at the border. This is why we need a wall. Ballard says in the article that he worked for Homeland Security investigations. So I'm just going to go with that. Now, Ballard also in this article extensively lies about the Liliana story, using her to argue for a wall, using quotes from her, which I don't know are truly from her. So this is covered extensively in the Vice article by Merlin and Marchman called A Famed Anti-Sex Trafficking Group Has a Problem with the Truth from December 2020, way before the movie came out. I could go down this rabbit hole for days, but the article does it justice, and there's going to be an extensive bibliography in the show notes if you need to look into this further. But all of this leads to my absolute favourite bit, because his resume, which he clearly wrote himself, claims he was an undercover operative for the US Child Sex Tourism Jump Team. It's interesting. Jump team. I've heard that somewhere before. See, that's the term that OUR uses for their little fucking foreign Rambo squad. So yeah, upon further inspection, that doesn't seem to exist. The only results I could find of this so-called jump team were, you guessed it, from Ballard and OUR themselves. So when he talks about Navy SEALs jumping from the roof when the money changed hands, and actual Navy SEAls called out this is bullshit, well, yeah, I mean, it looks like he made it all up. But this thing, even fucking Congress believed his bullshit. It's just fucking amazing. So in summary, he worked for Homeland Security as a special agent that worked with the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force, and that bit does seem to be true. And that is good work. I mean, good. And the rest just seems like classic Ballard bullshit with that really weird Trumpy border wall shit thrown in. Fucking gross, man. But the raids were likely completely made up. I mean, the stories worked, but the raids were likely made up. And here's some sort of reasons why. Because look, let's just preface this with saving kids is a very popular concept. So when Beck said they needed money to make the show to execute raids and shine light on this horrible practice that could be solved if you just gave us money, he raised $300,000 on the spot. Because people thought, oh shit, if I give you money, kids going to get saved. Of course you're going to give money. Because it's no-brainer, right? He raised over $1 million for the project in a very short amount of time. But, of course, as is the nature with these grifts, the television show never actually happened.
Legaled out of the water, I dare say.
I would say they just didn't fucking bother, and then just started OUR anyway. But the OUR-based productions that would follow were made to varying degrees of commercial success. So I'm not saying that nothing happened and The Sound of Freedom is the first time they've hit the movies.
But the reality TV show
But the reality TV show they planned and they
I'm going to say that got legaled out of the water. Certainly if it was going to run on any major commercial network, it would be
it could be the case.
Very, very dicey. You just have
my theory is more nefarious, which is that basically that they were more intending to just sort of steal money and then figure out what to do with it later.
Well, it's just to remind her about that sort of show, First 48, well, I think it's just called 48, that, had journalists running around with police investigating murders. And it's a long-running series. I think they ran 12 or 13 series.
Oh, wow.
They got blown out of the water when a raid on a home, and I'm trying to think of the American city. It may well have been Dallas. They raided a home and looking for a felon. Wanted felon, and shot a 4-year-old girl dead, and that was pretty much the end of that program.
Well, I mean, look, this is a similar thing that happened later as well with Meg Conley, who we bring up later in the show. She went on a raid with them, and basically Ballard was like, come down here, we'll show you what's happening, blah, blah, blah. And she was just in the room. She had no idea what was going on. And his entire purpose for bringing her there was to write an article on her to drum up more publicity, of course, basically just to make more money. And when, she was so gaslit and so fucking enamored by this fucking blue-eyed, boxy dickhead who just basically just lied to her until she'd turn up. And then she goes home and her partner picks her up and it's just like, what the fuck? She's telling a story and he's like, what the fuck is this Ballard guy doing? He could have got you killed. And she's like, what? He's like, oh my God, do you not realize that you were just in a dangerous situation where guns were drawn and you had no idea what was going on? It just shows what a master manipulator this guy is.
Well, yeah. When you had, in the case of 48, what you had was this really unusual and unethical sort of collusion between police and the production company.
That's what's happening here as well, yeah.
And so when this event occurred, where there was a film crew outside as police went inside to make an arrest, 4-year-old girl was shot dead. Fuck. Then immediately all of the footage was seized.
Yeah.
Every bit of it was seized. And then everyone realised at that point that police basically own this stuff. Yeah. And you'll only see the stuff that police will want you to see in these sorts of reality TV true crime shows. It's a nightmare. And I guarantee if you're a television executive and someone pitches you an idea like that, you go, no.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, all the sizzle in the world, no. Just no.
Anywho, a year or so later in 2014, Operation Underground Railroad started looking at conducting operations. They needed original content to get the real money coming in. Their website was full of what Ballard would call sizzle. Fanciful claims, really, to get people excited and make the organisation sound legit. One of the members of the team, Steve Hutch, Starsky. Where's Starsky? Steve Hutch was a master sergeant in the Navy SEALs.
Oh, that's a big rank. That's very important. That's a big guy.
A master sergeant. The problem with this is that the rank doesn't exist in the SEALs.
Oh.
I just want to break away here, Joel. I've looked at the stolen valor sort of stuff quite a lot, and there are 10 times more people in the US generally men, claiming to be Navy SEAls than there actually have been Navy SEAls.
Oh, wow, that is so bad.
It's a big stolen valor issue.
Yeah.
And they'll often say, it's a stolen valor thing. It's quite separate from what we're discussing here, but they'll say, oh, no, you can't find my military records because, I was working in the shadows.
Yeah, Ballard says that. So...
Yeah, it's a stolen valor grift.
Yeah, that's it. Look, I had a guy come up to me asking for money for the veterans in a Greyhound station in Detroit, and I don't think he was a veteran. I don't think he was. I think he lied to me. Very upsetting. So, look, this is just another fancy-sounding lie from Ballard. Fuck, add it to the pile. Steve Hutch likely doesn't even exist, but Paul Hutchinson does, and we're going to fucking talk about him. He's a producer of Sound of Freedom and an undercover operative who is associated with Ballard. He's not a Navy SEAL, but a real estate developer who really likes Krav Maga. You guys might know that from RV Yemeni. We are going to fuck him up in the next episode. I am going to rip this cunt from limb to limb.
Not a Navy SEAL, but a real estate developer who would like to be a Navy SEAL. Yeah. And every now and then when he has a few drinks, will tell his friends that, I could have been a Navy SEAL.
Oh, yeah. No, he tells podcast, and I think he's a teetotaler. So, take down that whole lower my inhibitions before I lie to people about stolen valor, and then just make it natural, because that's where he's at. He's a real fuckwit.
Over the following years, Ballard would testify before Congress and visit the White House to be lauded as a hero that saved the kids. That would have been Obama time and Trump time.
No, I think he only went Trump.
Okay.
I don't think it went.
He was also making a fortune doing it. While Ballard was CEO of Operation Underground Railroad, his base salary was $525,958 US.
Yep.
For 2022 with a 20K bonus.
Not bad.
So, what are we talking about? About 800 Australian a year.
Yeah.
That's not bad. He also paid his wife and son a cool $164,000 from our funds just for being them.
Yeah.
Of the 27.6 mil they took in that year, 14.8 went in salaries.
Now, I'm not sure how much the kid got paid, because that was just a part of one of the American Crime Journal investigations. But the fucking balls on this guy to be this child saver and take all that money and not only pay himself an outrageous amount of money, but then, I'm guessing through tax loopholes and whatnot, give his wife and son a salary as well. You're like, mate.
Yeah, who would have had minor sort of employment roles there that they either did or didn't do.
Someone's hand is in the fucking piggy bank. So not only that, but he was also taking a salary from his other nonprofit, the Nazarene Fund, which is a Glenn Beck organisation. He was taking $100,000 a year. And that's insane.
Nice work if you can get it.
So that's also alongside the $335,500 that he was making in 2021 for that, because, above that was 2022. Either way, basically, we don't know how much he took in 2022 from the Nazarene Fund, alongside his, $525,958 and all the rest. But let's just say this as a general thing, throwing some numbers around, he's getting fucking paid. He's getting well paid.
Extremely well.
And this is the money that's
disclosed. I also love the
disclosed.
name of the Nazarene Fund.
I know. It's gross.
It's just going to clamour. It's just going to get a clamour from your religious folk.
100%. It's just complete manipulation. It's Glenn Beck. What can you say? So Ballard is also have said to run a network of companies that provide services to OUR, big invoices, which may have resulted in even more money being funneled out of the organisation, away from the children, and into his filthy little pockets. That is hearsay, though. That's just something that really wasn't. Yes. I couldn't substantiate that. So allegedly. But one of the reasons why he parted ways with OUR is that he was allegedly misusing donor funds. So this would, of course, be separate from his publicly known salary. And let's just say that's one of the reasons why. Spoiler alert. The other is because he's really handsy. So,
I see.
Yeah, so OUR has since parted ways with Ballard, as we just said. We'll get to why that is in a bit, but like I said, here's a hint. 2 hands, no fucks. Well, actually, no. 2 hands, some fucks in some cases. So the organisation had a casual $68 million in the bank in 2020, taking $45 million in contributions and spending a whopping $973,455 on program services. That sounds low. The children.
It does a little bit.
The children didn't get much of that.
Around about 2%. Around about 2% of all funds are used to stop child sex trafficking. 2%.
Yeah, okay. So, when they say there's no aftercare, I don't think they're lying. I think they're telling you there's no aftercare. Okay, cool.
I can't afford that, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
Not on the tight budget we've got.
Sorry, you've been saved. And that's sort of our remit. So if you could just go to that payphone over there and take care of yourself, that'd be great. So cherry on top of the Ballard cake is the fact that he claims that all of this was a divine mission. Unfucking surprisingly. He was sent by God to save the children, blah, blah, blah.
Of course he was.
Yeah, just shut the fuck up. He was also sent by God to turn the kids into Mormons and make money doing it. And this is really...
Mormon God.
This fucking... I had to actually look pretty hard to find this, mostly in the American Crime Journal work. But... I'm just going to say that does sound a lot like child trafficking. It sounds a lot.
So trafficked children are being sort of rehabilitated and then sent to Mormon families.
Yes, that's happening. Yeah. So basically,
that is a little bit like child trafficking.
Well, in 2019, Ballard held a meeting at which attendees was to sign a NDA, and Ballard laid out his plan on a whiteboard to further monetize his child sex slave rescue nonprofit and use this plan to basically proselytize prospective converts to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So that is from American Crime Journal there. And the article goes on to say this.
Yes. On a whiteboard, Ballard presented the strategy, each member's role, and the respective organisations such as the Nazarene Fund, we mentioned before, Children Need Families,
creative,
of course they do, Liberty and Light Equity Trust, little bit more shadowy, and many others, funneling donor money into his for-profit Slave Stealers LLC.
Yep.
Why would he need an LLC? But we'll move on.
Yep.
And how to launder donor money each step of the way by creating a labyrinth of non-profits and for-profits exchanging money. This is where the grift is, folks. Should his plan progress and he was able to funnel enough liquid cash into his personal bank accounts, Ballard would then open low-cost, rundown LDS orphanages in Haiti. Ballard estimated he could make about $20,000 per adoption to Mormon couples in America.
Mm-hmm.
Haitian children growing up in Utah, it's not normal.
No,
it
not.
would not be good for them.
Turning them into Mormons in a place that I'm just going to go on a limb and say is mildly racist. Yeah, anyway, that's fun. So while this is completely fucked up, it gets even worse. I know that sounds bad. We're only at the start. So it's well known these operations were conducted with local law enforcement. Basically consisted members of their so-called jump team, the OUR jump team, because that's a sizzly name, going into impoverished areas in Haiti and Colombia, flashing cash and asking locals where they could find some kids, and then organising the raid with local police. So when they turn up with kids, they get the crims. So essentially...
Yeah, this is.
Oh, yeah, business as usual, right? So essentially they created a demand for kidnapped children, executed the raid and, filmed it, and that's the thing. So the criminals in question, these desperate, impoverished shit kickers who hang around at local bars, are sent to jail. Fair enough, fuck them. And the kids are heroically saved, and, like I say, it makes content. But it's also said that if the local pimps came back with girls or boys of age, maybe over 18 or 16 or whatever, they would flash even more cash and demand they brought back children. Reject the goods. Say, no, these sex workers are no good. We want kids. So you've got to ask yourself, were these children sex slaves, or were they simply kidnapped by local gangs who were basically given a huge cash incentive to provide kids for a rich foreigner?
Yeah.
I mean, they're creating sex tourism. So if it's the latter, the next bit here is the real fucking kicker. This is incredibly jarring. So this is Tim Ballard as part of a publicity circuit for OUR on Fox 13 in Utah. He was asked, what is the plan to heal them permanently? And his answer was, heal them permanently. There was Fox that asked that. And his answer was...
And that's where we come in. We have our aftercare department and we start planning that first, because if we can't figure that out, we're not going to do the rescue operation.
Bullshit.
And when you take these kids in, it's not just a short time. A puppy's not for Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
This is a lifetime potential,
Bullshit.
He said. We're prepared to take these kids and put them in a place where they can heal for years and years. And that gives you the context on why Fox used that term, because he's used it earlier, where they can heal for years and years until they're ready to stand on their own. We can't assume that there's parents waiting to receive them, because generally that's not going to happen, because there was no family. That's why they got into this.
Amazing.
So no mother or father alive. We're just taking these kids away.
And we're just going to say, look, there's no family. Don't worry. No, they don't want you back.
Yeah.
There's no good. So basically, let's just sum that up. Basically, they create demand.
Well, it's a criminal racket.
Well, yeah.
You go on. You explain it, but that's the way it's coming across to me.
So they create demand in an impoverished area.
Yep.
And they arrest the bad guys and film it to get more donations. They save the children, but instead of then working with the kids to reunite them with their families, they assume that they don't have one, or maybe the family is complicit in their kidnapping or something along those lines. They take them to an orphanage, which they run themselves as an LDS non-profit organization, only to then sell them off to Mormon families in Utah for $20,000 a pop. With, what I can imagine is zero oversight. These guys are fucking libertarian cowboys. And they're doing this to make an actual profit for an LLC. That's child trafficking! That's child trafficking!
It is the working definition of child trafficking.
It's fucking insane! They're already charging tech bros and bored millionaires $70,000 a week to go and join them on raids and play Rambo. That's a good money maker. You don't need to sell the kids after. Fuck me, they're not pea protein, Ballard. Anyway, so do you want to say something to that? Because I'm fucking...
Yeah, look, I mean, that's the business model. That's what it is. I mean, or indeed, when they don't have that sort of level of sophistication, that extension into Utah Mormon families, then basically what happens to the kids in that these kids growing up in orphanages.
I mean,
they're going to basically run away, aren't they?
Well, yeah. I mean, they're probably going to run away to try and find the fucking family they've been denied seeing.
I'm going to try and, mum, who I haven't seen for 2 years since the bad people with cameras came and took me away.
Exactly. I mean, fuck, man, it's so insane. And look, this, and it's such an easy market because the supply and demand curve for children in Utah, the demand is infinite. They have harems of 12 children. Caviezel's adopted kids, Ballard's adopted kids. They all just adopt kids. I think Ballard's got something like 10 kids in his little fucking stable.
Adoption laws in the United States are absolutely terrible and unacceptably bad. They're much harsher here, and I would argue probably go too far the other way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, when you've got this ease, when Madonna's running around buying children in Africa and to raise as her own and all this sort of stuff, you're on a moral, a slippery slope there.
Yeah. All right. So we have quoted the Vice articles a lot, and you should definitely check those out if you want to know further. But if you want to get really hard down the rabbit hole into the really extensive shit, the articles by Packer and Moore, we'll put those in the show notes as well. They're on AmericanCrimeJournal.com. Take some things with a grain of salt because I found some of their claims hard to substantiate. But at the same time, they have been threatened with legal action by Ballard, which did not get followed through, which is often for a good reason.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
Don't people say, look, I'm going to issue writs? I like those guys who actually set up little calendars on their websites and say, number of days since...
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, well, you had that with Aussie Cossack, which is pretty funny.
Us with a writ.
Yeah, Aussie Cossack was, I'm going to sue you. And you're like, yeah, go, do it. Have fun. Fucking idiot. Ballard actually used a law firm, which is well known in Utah, for basically trying to talk down victims of child abuse from the church and silence them with money. That's his law firm.
Yeah,
that's the law firm he chose. Yeah. Anyway. Okay, so I'm adding this one in from the editing desk because I think this needs to be covered at least a little bit, but I don't want to go too far with it. So the law firm is named Curtin McConkie, which is admittedly a very funny name, and they are known for operating what is called a catch and kill scheme on behalf of the LDS Church in Utah. This is from the American Crime Journal, and they actually received the legal threat, the cease and desist, on their letterhead, so they sort of knew that they were using them. While it's alleged that the law firm has covered up for perpetrators in the church and failed to notify authorities about instances of child sex abuse, they've also admitted to instances of this happening. So it's not just alleged, it's they've admitted it. So yeah, they have form. It's established. They also use non-disclosure agreements to silence victims. Classic church move. They operate a helpline, this is fucked, for Mormon clergy members to report these things, and then they intercept the complaint before it reaches authorities and effectively catch and kill any of these issues before they become a problem for the church. So the helpline doesn't employ counselors because that's not what it's for. It's simply a way for the law firm to catch these complaints that have been reported to clergy or observed by clergy before they go to police and become public, and to advise them to shut the fuck up and leave it alone. So, I mean, the entire thing is around protecting the church and completely ignoring active child sex abusers. So one example of this was a bishop named John Herod. He was told by the helpline not to report a case of abuse being perpetrated by a member of his church to police, and he didn't. He kept the secret for 7 years. And the child was continually abused during this point, and also other daughters, one of them being an infant. This is fucking awful. The bishop himself is protected under privilege, but he has to live with the fact that he enabled years of abuse. But this law firm did this shamelessly because they set up systems to ensure this would happen, simply to protect the church and keep the money coming in. This is fucking insane. And this is one of many examples that this law firm perpetuated child sex abuse by hiding it away from authorities. This law firm has so much blood on their hands. So yeah, the Mormons' track record on child sex abuse is pretty fucked. It's not quite as bad as the Catholics, very famous for it, but they're on the leaderboard. And this Curtin McConkie rabbit hole is so deep and covered in detail by Damian Moore on American Crime Journal. I've taken just a cliff notes. But just to keep this on subject, this is the law firm that not only Ballard uses, but OUR had on retainer. And as they say in the article, how can any organisation, any legitimate one for that matter, claim they are rescuing women and children overseas from sex traffickers and yet hire Curtin McConkie? Good fucking question, Damien. Not only that, but in the article, they report that victims of child sex abuse at the hands of these LDS church members reached out to Ballard to be rescued, and they were fucking ignored. But apparently there's no sizzle in that story. It's bad for business. So yeah, I had to get that off my chest because that was really pissing me off. On with the show.
Yeah, but let's look at why Ballard and OUR cut ties. He doesn't like talking about it, funnily enough, and continues to call himself the founder of OUR.
Which isn't wrong, I guess. I mean, it's not a lie. So this is actually in a video, and you guys know how much I hate watching videos. So an anonymous source told Vice magazine tech outlet Motherboard, I'm going to miss Vice. They're actually quite good.
Yeah, I like a lot of their programming.
Yeah.
I like their website.
Bit hipstery.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Yeah.
It's a great shame.
Yeah. Oh, well.
You know who founded it, don't you?
Yeah, I do. Proud Boys. Gary McGuinness. What a world.
And then I think News Corp bought it.
Yeah, News Corp bought it. And now they've just done another MySpace on it. Oh, well, what can you do? So basically, an OUR employee who accompanied Ballard, allegedly, on an OUR operation abroad, filed a complaint against him with their internal HR department after the trip. And it is claimed the following investigation resulted in his departure from the organisation. Oh, did they find something?
Do tell.
Don't know, because according to employees at OUR, there are other internal investigations being conducted about allegations against Ballard as well. But the results of the investigation are subject to NDA agreements and will not be publicly released. What a surprise.
Non-disclosure, you mean there?
Yes,
you mean
NDAs,
non-disclosure agreements?
That's right, yeah.
Generally not worth the paper they're written on these things.
Yeah, but yeah.
If you are dealing with a company or an institution that's lawyered up, they will exercise their, shall we say, legal privileges under those NDAs.
As Meredith Bergman said to me once, the process is the punishment when it comes to legal action, and you just never want to be in court. And the more I learn in law school, the more that fucking becomes true. Unless you use it for publicity. So yeah, if someone wants to sue us, it would be a really good bump. We'd get a lot of listeners, and the crowdfund would be massive. So
we'll have you come in to sign an NDA.
So shortly after Ballard was reached out for comment by Motherboard, Ballard released a video on social media telling followers to expect more lies about him from the godless leftist media, who are...
I don't know what kind of lies, but there will be lies.
There will be lies. And that the godless leftist media were running interference for human traffickers. So anyone against me is a pedophile. It's just a classic line. And it worked. I mean, look, if you look at the comment section on anything about this film, anyone who dares question Ballard is a pedophile. These people are fucking idiots. So it's also been said that he is engaged in 7 extramarital affairs. Although this is hearsay from a Twitter account.
Well, let's not kink shame the guy.
Well, look, if you want to dip your finger in a lot of pots, I'm not going to get angry at you. But if you're going to then hide behind God and take photos with your wife, who you are actively lying to,
and it's kind of important, isn't it?
It's not so great, but yeah, look, so and do take that with a grain of salt, because like I said, it was like a Twitter account that's like exposing Tim Ballard or some shit. There was no source for it, but yeah. So just to give you an idea of what kind of behaviour happens on these tech bro funded raids, Vice reported that OUR were being investigated for, and this is a paragraph of charges,
whether OUR operators have engaged in sexual acts with human trafficking victims.
Good. Ooh,
Lordy.
Nice.
Whether operators have been intoxicated while on missions.
Not so bad in my opinion. I like those.
Whether OUR operations have created demand for trafficking victims.
Yes.
Very important to look at that. And whether OUR has committed human trafficking itself, as we kind of indicated, by enticing people who are not previously traffickers with large sums of money.
It sums it up. Like, the first bit is really intense. I mean, basically you got this situation where you got these hyped up dude bros with a massive Rambo complex, testosterone running all throughout the room. They're all Mormons, so no one's having a wank at night. Basically, their balls are supercharged, and they save these victims. But then, they have sex with them, because let's face it, what happens on tour stays on tour. Oh, don't worry, she was already a slut. I mean,
well, that's possible. Allegedly,
yeah.
Yeah, whether our operations have created demand for trafficking victims. I think that's the really critical point.
Oh, it's disgusting.
And we talked about the money being thrown around in the developing world, where $20 American can buy you just about anything.
Yep.
And these are the things that should be the subject of FBI
Well, they are.
investigations.
That's who's investigating. I believe it's the FBI.
Well, I know. I mean, these are the things that should be, and man, they should be making some arrests.
They should be.
Yeah.
Tim Ballard should be in fucking jail
soon.
Yeah,
soon.
Well, we'll see how the next sort of few months go on. But that is the thing. Basically, Vice was quoting this sort of scoop from American Crime Journal, mentioning that Ballard was either intending to or has sent some of these rescued children to the USA in exchange for large sums of money. We've already said that.
That's child trafficking. That is just straight out child trafficking.
That's very bad. So, fellow Mormon and mum blogger Meg Conley, and I use mum blogger because I looked at what she did, and that's what I thought it was. I hope that doesn't trivialize her work, but it sounds like that's kind of what she does. Which is fine. It's a thing in itself. So Meg Conley published her story in Slate about her experience joining Ballard on a raid in 2014. She wrote the article years later. She sort of sat on it and then went, holy shit, I need to fucking talk about this. So in the article, she said, quote, I was told 2 of the children had been trafficked for the first time that day. It didn't seem to occur to anyone that OUR may have created a demand. After the sting, I asked people on the jump team where the 26 kids were taken. I was given only vague answers. Aftercare wasn't really their focus, I was told, but they partnered with people who did it well.
This is all very suspicious.
But then she found out later in a report on the same raid by Foreign Policy, this.
Excellent news source, by the way, Foreign Policy listeners. Get on it if you can. It is a paid site. In 2014, after OUR's first operation in the Dominican Republic, a local organisation called the National Council for Children and Adolescents quickly discovered it didn't have the capacity to handle the 26 girls rescued. That aftercare, that they were terrific at. They were released in less than a week. So those 26 girls were just released.
And you know what could have happened? OUR could have just paid for a fucking hotel. They have so much money.
There's so much money.
They could have had a secured location.
But they were paying Ballard and his child and his wife money.
Too busy paying Ballard's kids money. Fucking insane.
Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, look, so Ballard and his mates, they came into town, they convinced local criminals to kidnap some kids and delivered them to a rented house. The criminals were arrested, and fuck them. I mean, if you can kidnap children, you're not a good person. And the kids were saved. Great. They had no plan to take care of the kids afterwards, so they just released them. Good luck. Go with the police, see what happens. Oh, would you like some money? No.
Well, the lease has run out, so off you go.
Yep.
Pack your bags.
Oh, the Airbnb need us to clean. Can we keep the kids behind to help us?
Please take this complimentary OUR t-shirt.
Oh yeah, or you can take all the soaps from the bathroom too. Like they let you have them. Really, it's totally normal in these places. So one would hope that they turned up back with their families. We don't really know what the deal is. But apparently it was revealed in later testimony looking into this situation, the local organisation actually lost track of some of the kids. They just wandered off. So pinched from home because Ballard wants to make some content and then just lost. Cool. So the raid's actually on YouTube, on the OUR YouTube channel. It's called Your Donations in Action, if you just wanted to make it all that money again. And it's fucking gross. The guns are drawn at one point. I actually didn't really watch it. I just sort of skipped through it. Ballard, when he's being arrested, he's on the floor and he smiles to the camera with this greasy, oh, this was fucking cool sort of look. And people want this? How is this good? This is bad. This is really, really bad. So after OUR, Ballard went on to, as I said, CEO of the Nazarene Fund. It's the Glenn Beck-backed organisation. He was getting $100,000 a year on that, alongside the $500,000 from OUR. And basically, he went on to be CEO, but then he got the arse. And the Nazarene Fund actually haven't commented on why they got rid of him. Yeah, so he got kicked out of OUR.
From there too.
And so there were actually there were concerns from OUR apparently saying that he would continue his bad behaviour at any organisation that he would move on to. And then he did. That's what generally seems to be the sort of the understanding here. So look, Ballard is now the founder of this new organisation called the Spear Fund.
There's some there's some more Bible rhetoric.
Yep, and that's under the non-profit, as we said before, Liberty and Light. And basically, he's just a money-making machine. He went on Tim Pool and raised $50,000, just spinning bullshit, opening wallets, and just calls to action. And basically, with the Sound of Freedom, like I say, man, he's give him a license to print money. That's it.
He's going to make a fortune.
He's going to make so much money.
He already has made a fortune.
He's going to sell enough pea protein to buy a house in Surrey Hills.
He's selling goddamn supplements.
He's such a cunt.
Bastard. What an absolute bastard.
Oh, my God.
Most of the information in this episode predates The Sound of Freedom, but like anything that shines a light on someone dodgy as fuck, the attention has brought these investigations to the surface. Ballard should be universally condemned for being a dangerous and terrible person, but instead he is a darling of right-wing media and a hero to literally millions of people.
Yeah, it's fucking sickening. In part 2, we're going to look at the Rambo effect of the movie, have a bit of a chat about foreign fighters and their sort of potential role in this. That's more your thing. I'm going to make you look into that and basically shine some light on one of the producers, as I said before, Paul Hutchinson, who is a malignant narcissist and an undercover operative for OUR, who thinks that being qualified to handle children in developing countries and save them from traumatic situations is basically whether you can poke them in the eyes quickly. So he's been involved with raids that have seen children produced and rescued for content and donations. He's a massive part of all this scummy shit that's been happening. I think that he has actually possibly parted ways with Ballard since as a result of Ballard just being an outright cunt. But to be honest, these guys are two sides of the same coin. It's just that this guy wasn't played by Jim Caviezel.
Oh, there'll be a huge number of copycats going about this
fuck
too,
yeah. And this guy, the more I know about this guy, the more he creeps me out. He's on a big podcast circuit. He's got an Instagram account where he's making a lot of slick content. He's got a lot of money and he wants to be a hero, but he really is just a piece of shit. It is all about him. He's a fucking Mormon. It's going to be depressing, but it's going to be fun.
This will end very, very badly. Yes, so that's part 2 of Sound of Freedom. And coming up in our next episode, folks, is Albanian crime gangs.
Uh-oh.
Who are they and where are they from?
Don't know.
Well, turns out they're from Albania and they are actually Albanians. But we're going to have a bit of a look at them and just what they're getting up to in Australia and why there are a certain number of people who are not aligned with the Albanians and some of whom are getting air-conditioned on our streets, in Sydney in particular.
And just as a caveat, this isn't because we brought up Taken, where the bad guys were Albanians. This is something that Jack knows about separate from Taken.
Yeah, look, there's some Australian Crime Commission documents that have been doing the rounds. Australian Crime Commission it really does operate in the shadows, doesn't share information with very much, well, certainly with media. It does share information with other law enforcement agencies in Australia. But they have released some documents to limited numbers of the media, including me. Ooh. And so we're going to have a look at some of these individuals involved in the Albanian crime gangs, what they get up to. It involves a lot of immigration rorts and rackets and a lot of drug trafficking. And as we sort of half jokingly say, the Albanians will kill you for practice.
Yeah, and that's why I'm not super stoked about this, but I'm looking forward to the episode. But this is why my house is covered in cameras.
Talking about Albanian crime gangs and not Albanian people who come basically from Europe's poorest country and have transitioned very poorly out of Hoxha's almost North Korean style Stalinism. Their only friend in the world for many, many years was Mao's China. And then they transitioned, as did Russia, into capitalism with an enormous amount of graft and corruption.
That makes a lot of sense.
So that's the basis.
That'll
of it.
keep
It's
you
not
poor.
an ethnic thing.
No.
But we will be talking about Albanian crime gangs in our next episode.
Looking forward to it. And we've got a few bonus episodes coming up as well, but I'm not going to name them just in case they don't happen. But good things are happening. We're going to catch up on lost time.
Now, you have been listening to the Conditional Release program with your host, Jack the Insider, and Joel Hill.
Jack can found on Twitter on @JackTheInsider and Joel on @CrunchyMoses with AK. I don't use Twitter anymore, but just add me anyway. Fuck it, why not? Set up a Facebook page, which you can find fairly easily. And if you enjoyed the episode, please share it on social media. But yeah, share the episode because get the numbers bumping up. It would be good if we could take this to a next level. We'll get another sponsor. It'd be like Kmart or something. It'd be great.
we have a Patreon to help keep this sustainable. It's bloody time consuming and we still have to pay the rent. Help keep the lights on.
Yeah, fuck. If you could make this my career, it would be a fucking dream. For as little as $5 a month, you'll have access to all sorts of bonus content, including a weekly premium episode. And we do try and make it worth your while because, I mean, quid pro quo, man. You know, there's got to be a bargain in it.
Yeah, we're going to do a premium tomorrow. I actually really look forward to them because we can be a bit fast and loose.
Yeah, we can just
we don't
talk
have to
shit.
worry too much about the lawyers and what have you.
Yeah.
And these things are joyous. I do actually really look forward to that time of the week when we do our premium episode.
Yeah, it's good fun.
And I'd like to think that our premium episodes are well worth your time, put it that way, listeners.
Yeah.
And finally, all feedback, tips and death threats should be sent to the conditional release program at gmail.com. We would love to hear from you, even if it's to tell us you're sending us to a nice family in Utah.
Yep.
Ooh,
Yep.
I've got lots of brothers and sisters all of a sudden.
Oh, cool. I'm in a family of 90. This is... Hey, Dad. Sorry, who are you? I'm Jimmy. I used to be called Pablo, but you changed my name.
And I'm the one who lives out in the yard in the tent.
Yeah. What chores do you have for me today? Because I don't want to get beaten later for not doing them because you haven't told me them. Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, you've got to clean the fucking horse's hooves. Anyway. They're so fucking evil. I hate this episode. All right. Thanks, listeners. I'll see you later.
All right. Yeah, we'll be back with you with Albanian crime gangs.
Yeah, it's a
See ya,
cheery
folks.
fucking month. See ya.
I don't think I ever want to talk to any of those people.
Fuck me, you guys are bastards.